Okay, Dan, who's here? All right, commission members, I do see Joe Chadwick.
Yep, I see Dave is here as well.
Dave, is Joe Viuzzo on by phone?
Yes. We have Sharon as well.
Okay, great, Sharon. Okay, so I think all the commission members are here. And looks like all the staff are here. So I guess
recording in progress.
We can get started. Okay, let's call this special meeting of the Branford Planning Zoning Commission to order. It is Thursday, June 23rd.
No, it's Tuesday.
Oops, excuse me, you're right. Yeah, I was reading the agenda, which says Thursday, but you're correct. It's Tuesday. Yeah, thank you. It's Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026, and it's at 6:32 p.m. And we'll introduce members of the commission and staff. Commission member Joe Chadwick. Joe, are you here?
Joe Chadwick is present.
Thank you, Joe. Commission member Joe Viuzzo. Joe, are you here?
Joe Viuzzo, present.
Joe is here. Commission member Dave Dyer. Dave, are you here?
Dave Dyer's here.
Excellent, Dave. And commission member Sharon Hutner. Are you here, Sharon?
Sharon Hutner is here.
Great, thanks, Sharon. Absent this evening, I believe, are Fred Russo and Marcy Pelusi. So both Dave and Sharon will be participating fully this evening. And our staff this evening is our interim town planner, Jamie Frederick. Jamie, you're here?
Jamie Frederick here.
And our assistant planner, Dan Robinson. Dan, you're here?
Present.
Our town attorney, Bill Anoskovich. Bill, you're here?
I am here.
And also assisting us is planning consultant, John Guskowski. John, you're here?
Good evening, Chuck.
Thanks, John. With that, in Fred's absence, I'll read the notice of public hearing. Legal notice, Town of Branford, the Planning Zoning Commission of the Town of Branford, Connecticut hereby gives notice of a public hearings to be held on Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026 at 7 p.m. by remote technology to consider the applications listed below. Information regarding how to participate in the public hearings will be provided on the Commission's meeting agenda that will be posted on the town's website at least 24 hours prior to the meeting. Application number 1, application PZ number 2620, special exception for a change of use to limited retail located at 1032-1064 Main Street. Heather Rumor, applicant, 1064 Main Street LLC. JFA Management is the owner. Application number 2 is application PZ number 2618. Special exception for a hospital in grading, section 6.8, located at 596, 612, 616 East Main Street. Wayne Cook, trustee of the FC Cook Trust, applicant and owner of 596 East Main Street. Wayne Cook and Catherine Marie Cook, applicants and owners of 612 East Main Street. NFW Associates, applicants and owners of 616 East Main Street. Number 3, application number PZ number 2621, special exception for a retail store located at 16 Business Park Drive, SZ and ILLC, applicant and owner. Application number 4, application PZ number 2623, zoning map amendment and personal services, medical and indoor recreation uses to the PDD located at 17-29 South Main Street. Paul Kirkosi, applicant, 17-29 South Main Street LLC is owner. At said hearing, all persons will have the right to be heard. Copies are on file at the Planning Zoning Commission office At the Planning and Zoning Department, 1019 Main Street, Branford, Connecticut, 06405. Written communications may be sent to the above address or to planning and zoning at branfordct.com. So that's our legal notice. We'll follow an order formal for public hearings, which is that the applicants will go first, make their presentations, and after the applicant goes, we turn it over for commission and staff, typically a summary of the staff report. At that point, we open up to the public, and when we get to that point, I'll ask Dan or Jamie to review the process for participating in the public hearing, so you can be refreshed about that when it's your turn to speak. And after that, we turn it back over to the commission for further questions and staff. If there are further questions and comments, we may or may not continue the public hearing, depending on how it goes. Not unusual to have continued public hearings. With that, we started this meeting at 6:30 because we have a very lengthy agenda. The public hearings don't start till 7, but we had 3 items that we were hoping to take care of before we got to the public hearing. So we'll jump right into those. So we'll start with old business item number 1, which is Alice Wieland, applicant and owner at 14 Forest Street. It's a coastal site plan, demolition and reconstruction of a new single-family home. Is the applicant ready to proceed with that? And then maybe I could ask Dan to review the process for proceeding, since we're asking the applicants to proceed. Dan, you want to just run through that?
Yes, absolutely. If your computer has a microphone for two-way communication, then during a public hearing, or if you're the applicant presenting, feel free to press the raise hand button in the participant window. If you can't find that, you can also click on the heart react button in the bottom middle of the screen, and that should also bring up the raise hand function. When it is your turn, during a public hearing, when it's your time to speak, please state your name and address for the record. That being said, if you are here to just, participate in the meeting but not speak, you are, free to just use a pseudonym. You do not need your full name just to watch the meeting. And if you are not able to be present on your computer, we have an option to dial in at 1-646-558-8656. And one last note, we prefer that public comments are said, over the microphone. We do have a chat feature, but if you are going to, during a public hearing, submit chats, please state your name and address for the record. And when that public hearing is closed, please refrain from typing in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. With that, then, let's turn to item number of old business, which is Alice Wieland, applicant owner at 14 Forest Street. Does coastal site plan demolition and reconstruction with a new single-family home. Is the applicant ready to proceed?
Yes, I am. My name is Alice Wieland, for the record. I've not done this before, but I'll just give you the basic information. This house, the property I purchased in late 2024, the house had significant structural damage. It was built in 1935, and on a rock foundation, and it was wavy. So I got all the permits to demolish the house, but I didn't demolish the garage because the structure of the garage was still solid. It was built in the 80s on slab-on grade foundation. So we took down the house, but not the attached garage. And I didn't realize I had to go through zoning, but I'm going through zoning. I'm building a house about on the same footprint as the old house, a few feet larger. I submitted the plans. It looks bigger because there's a 10-foot covered porch that I'll probably have with some hardscape under the 10-foot covered porch. That's it. We're keeping the limit of disturbance to under 5,000 feet. I know it says limit, but I did the calculations. It's actually under 5,000 feet. And yeah, I can answer any questions.
Check in to share. Thank you, Ms. Wieland. Dan, you want to review the staff report for us?
Absolutely. Share my screen. I'm not sure if I have the sharing privilege, but I just sent it. Jamie, let me know when I'm good to go.
Should be good.
Okay, all right, let me try it again now. Okay, can everyone see?
No. Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll zoom in here. So we're at 14 Forest Street. As Ms. Whelan explained, the house was demolished in 2025, but the garage with some floor space above was maintained. They're doing a slight expansion. I can show you right here in the site plan. The red outline is where the new structure will be, replacing the old house. There's the garage on the left. This hashed line there is the setback. As you can see, all of it is safely behind the setback lines. There's that covered porch, and they're adding a deck and stairs access to get into that floor space above the garage. But it's all one. The garage isn't, the upstairs garage space is not separated from the two-story residence. It's all one residence. It is a coastal site plan because single families were no longer exempt as of a law that was passed October 1st of last year. So new single family homes within the coastal management area are subject to coastal site plan review. A portion of this property lies within the coastal management area, so that's why we're looking at it today. It's in the R4 zone. These are the applicable bulk requirements. It's all behind the setbacks, and it's not taller than 35 feet. The lot's fairly large. It's at 0.7 acres, so there's no issue with lot coverage. In terms of parking, it's single family. It's a 2-car garage. There's sufficient parking. Creating and earth removal activities. The applicant, delineated the limits of disturbance on the site plan, and it did not exceed 5,000 square feet. So that's compliant. Standard soil erosion and sediment controls will be required. Silt fencing has been proposed to limit erosion and the movement of sediment for this application, and that those silt fences were shown on the site plan. The driveway is not going to be changed. As part of this application, there's a shared driveway with this property and the one to the west of it, but there are no changes associated with this application. Just here's an aerial view of what the applicant was talking about. There's the garage with floor space above that was maintained. Of course, the rest of the house was demolished, and this image is from this spring. So this is about what the property looks like right now. We can get into a rendering of what the home is going to look like. So there's that garage, of course, with the access stairs, and then there's that covered porch and the new single-family home that will be built. In terms of the application's consistency with the Connecticut Coastal Management Act, the property is pretty far away from any coastal resources. In fact, only a small portion of this property even lies within the coastal management area. So there are no coastal resources within 100 feet of the activity. That being said, the proposed soil and erosion controls would limit any disturbance that's associated with this application. Of course, we shared it with our other departments at Town Hall. Inland Wetlands said that there is no permit required for them, but that there is a catch basin by the entrance of the property, and they requested that the applicant protect that catch basin during the proposed activity. And the building officials' only comments were that the full plan review to be completed when that building permit application is received, should this coastal site plan be approved tonight. It's a staff recommendation that the commission approves this. We find it to be relevant to the criteria outlined in sections 5.1, which are the coastal site plan requirements, section 6, which is our basic standards, and section 9.7 as well. Prior to the fall of 2025, this kind of was what I was referencing earlier about the exemption for single families. That's no longer here. So a coastal site plan was required. However, there were no coastal resources on the site that necessitated us to refer it to CT Deep. So the only reason that this is a coastal site plan is that it's a new home that's slightly within the coastal management area. There really are no sensitive coastal resources nearby that I think the commission should be worried about. But there are those standard soil and erosion controls in place to ensure that there's no excessive disturbance. And these are our findings and conditions. With the standard finding that the project, adheres to the Connecticut Coastal Management Act and incorporates conditions and modifications necessary to mitigate adverse impacts on coastal resources. And our conditions that, erosion control measures shall be installed, that an inlet protection be installed to protect the adjacent catch basin on the northern side of Forest Street, and that no accessory apartment shall be established on the premises without securing proper approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission. This is in reference to the floor area above the garage that has its own bathroom. It doesn't have its own kitchen facilities, but this just kind of harps on that point that if an accessory apartment was desired, in the future, they need to come back for a special exception approval. That's all I got.
Thanks, Dan. Questions, comments from commission members?
Sharon Hutner here. I just have a comment. I'd like to commend the applicant for the design of the house, which looks like it's consistent with the neighborhood. So I'm sure the neighbors will be very happy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Any other questions and comments from commission members? If not, does someone want to make a motion? Again, it's not a public hearing, to approve the application with the finding and the 3 conditions set forth in the staff report that Dan reviewed with us.
Sharon Hutner will make that motion.
Motion approved by Sharon. Is there a second?
Chadwick seconds.
Second by Joe Chadwick. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe Chadwick,
Chadwick in favor.
Joe Vayuso,
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Dave Dyer,
Dave Dyer's in favor.
Sharon,
Sharon Hutner is in favor.
and the chair is also in favor. So the application is approved. So thank you, Ms. Wheel.
Thank you very much.
We'll move on to item number 2, which is Richard D. Bernardinus, applicant at 279 Linden LLC is the owner, 279 Linden Avenue. It's also a coastal site plan demolition rebuilding of a single family house. Applicant ready to proceed with that one.
Good evening. I'm Russell Campaign. I'm the architect on the project, actually, 131 Boston Street, CK Architects. Rick D. Bernardinus is the general contractor who made application through the building submission for a building permit on this project. And Jim Preddy is the civil engineer, and I'm representing Tara Knight, who's the owner of the property. In 2023, we received a variance and a CAM approval actually from the Zoning Board of Appeals. I guess that's not applicable now, that it has to come before the Planning and Zoning, but we also went back in 2024 and presented the CAM again for an additional lot coverage variance for an elevator. And here we are before Planning and Zoning for the 3rd CAM approval on this property with no changes. But it's fairly simple. The house is older. It's non-conforming with regard to the FEMA and has to be raised, and really structurally isn't able to be raised. So we're taking it down, rebuilding it. It's substantially in the same footprint. We're actually making it more conforming in all aspects, bringing several nonconformities into conformity, as well as bringing it into conformity with FEMA. And Jim Preddy put together a plan that meets all the requirements as far as the protections. We're not doing any seawall work or anything. Everything is upland on the work. We are directly adjacent to the sound. But measures have been taken. It is a very tight site. We've discussed this. We have a very good contractor with how we're going to coordinate and protect. So I'm confident that that is going to go as planned. And I'm able to answer any questions that you may have.
I can just share. Thank you, Mr. Campaign. Dan, you want to review the staff report?
Yes, I will go ahead and do that. Share my screen. Okay. All right. So we are at 279 Linden Avenue. Mr. Campaign already gave the basics on it, but I'll just go through some of the details. It's in the R3 zone, but it is undersized at, around 4,000 square feet. So in this scenario, we're applying the R2 standards for the bulk requirements. and the property lies within the flood zone. It has to be elevated because this is a brand new home. Variances were secured in 2023 and in 2024 to reduce side yard setbacks, to negate the narrow streets requirement for front yard setback, and to allow to change the side yard setback again to permit the placement of the elevator, and to allow a lot coverage of 25.6% where 25% is required. The new home will be 3 stories tall, 2 floors for living area on top of a ground level 1-car garage. The property is located within the coastal management area. Under the law update for October 1st, 2025, the exemption for single family homes from coastal site plan review was removed. So that is why the commission is looking at it tonight. Here's a quick look at the parcel itself. The yellow is the property boundary. We have, of course, the sound on this side of it up here. And the red is the new footprint of the home that is proposed to be built, with the access stairs on the side. And then this box right here is where the elevator shaft would be. This is a rendering of what the house will look like. There's those stairs again, and then this is the elevator shaft, garage on the bottom, and then 2 floors for living area. And then this is our elevations as well. One thing to know about the height, it does not exceed 35 feet. The roof line, the elevator shaft does exceed 35 feet, but that is permissible under our regulations. We exempt elevators from counting towards the height measurement. So the height of the proposed structure is compliant. And that specific line about the elevators is in section 6.2 D. It's a building lot for R2 zoning requirements. The old house was in a legal non-conforming place. The new home will be elevated partially on the old footprint, reducing a side yard non-conformity, actually, extending to the north and south and west. And the proper variances to permit the shell of what they're trying to build now were secured in 2023 and 2024. In terms of the drainage and stormwater control, the applicant is proposing to install a rainwater storage chamber to the west of the home with about a 1 inch of rain capacity, and they're planning to remove the existing yard drain. In terms of soil erosion and sediment control, they'll need to, of course, comply with the Connecticut guidelines for soil erosion and sediment control, and they've proposed silt fences to protect the coastal resources. This is a sensitive area as we're right on the water. One thing to note here, the driveway is planned to be relocated. The property has a legal nonconformity regarding a driveway width of greater than 24 feet at the street line. But the street line of this property is actually within the road itself, meaning that the entire frontage is paved. However, the proposed driveway relocation is still conforming, as the nonconformity is not being increased. The edge of pavement actually is on the interior of the property, whereas with most properties it'd be on the exterior. So because the width at the edge of pavement will still be less than 30 feet for this relocated driveway, the relocation is compliant, so there are no concerns there. This is a photo of the old home. Well, it's the one that's proposed to be demolished. I believe this picture is from this year. As you can see, it's very close to the property line, but variances were secured to build the proposed home. For our coastal site plan criteria, the proposed activity aligns with the policies that are mentioned in CGS 22A-92. The coastal resources that are nearby will be preserved through the use of soil and erosion controls and also the elevation of the structure itself. In terms of what actual coastal resources are nearby, these are our coastal hazard area, shorelands and modified bluffs and escarpments. However, all activity is beyond 25 feet from any critical coastal resources that we mentioned in section 2.2. There are no foreseen adverse impacts to the nearby coastal resources if the proper erosion and sediment controls are put in place as proposed. The property is, sorry, typo there. The property is a waterfront property, but it's not a water dependent use that exists on the site like a marina. So there is no, proposed negative impact on future water dependent uses. And moving on to our required reviews to other departments, the town engineer stipulated that the lower level, the garage level, must not be used as a living area and may be used for parking and limited storage only, and that their full review will be provided on the building permit application. And the building official mentioned that their full review will also be completed when building permit application is received, if this application is approved tonight. In terms of, CT Deep, we did have to refer to them. We are mandated by state law. However, the 35-day window for them to give us feedback elapsed without official comments from them. Therefore, we can treat that as an approval from them. In terms of our recommendation, the staff finds that the application complies with the zoning regulations adhering to section 5.1, 6, and 9.7. 279 Linden Avenue is about 0.09 acres. It's a thin lot that lies within the flood zone, is right in the water. Elevating the structure and maintaining the previous 2 stories for living area would become a challenge. So the property secured variances to facilitate this new design. Deep didn't have any negative comments. They're proposing soil and erosion controls and modifying the stormwater system on site. So all this information together leads the staff to recommend that the commission approve the coastal site plan application with the findings and conditions listed here. Our standard coastal site plan finding and our condition that the proper erosion and control measures shall be installed. That's all I got.
Questions, comments from commission members? Hearing none, then does someone want to make a motion with respect to this application? And Dan has suggested a approval of finding of compliance with the goals and policies of the Coastal Area Management Act and the standard condition about erosion controls being installed prior to start of construction.
Chadwick makes that motion.
Motion to approve with the proposed findings and conditions made by Joe Chadwick. Is there a second?
Vayuso seconds.
Joe Vayuso seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe Chadwick,
Joe Chadwick is in favor.
Joe Vayuso,
Joe in favor.
Dave Dyer,
Dave is, approval.
Sharon Hutner,
Sharon Hutner is in favor.
and the chair is also in favor. So that application is approved.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much. Thank you, Mr. Campaign. Okay, let's see if we can squeeze in item number 3 here before we start our public hearings. That's Jennifer Katz, applicant owner, 3 Waverly Park Road. This is a coastal site plan, also a demolition and rebuilding of a new single-family dwelling. Is the applicant ready to proceed?
I am. So, hello, I'm Jennifer Katz. This is a family property. It was my grandmother's, and then it was my parents before me, and now it's mine. When we went to remodel it, it was sort of in disrepair, 60 amp electric. So we worked with the town for the demolition of the property, and now we are planning a rebuild on the same footprint, FEMA compliant, under the maximum height level, and we have no plans to have the driveway more than 24 feet. It should be in about the same area that it is. And anything else you need to know?
Thank you. Dan, I think you did this one as well. You want to review it with us?
Yes, I'll try and get through this quickly in the interest of time. Okay, all right. So we're at 3 Waverly Park Road. They're demolishing an existing single-family home and rebuilding a new one on the same footprint, elevated to FEMA standards. Actually, the old home has already been demolished. It's the R2 zoning district that this property lies within, and it's about 400 feet away from Limewood Beach. The entire parcel is subject to floodplain regulations. That's why they're elevating it. There's a base flood elevation of 12 feet on this property, and there is a new stairway / porch to be added to access the elevated living area from the ground. The first level is going to be for a 1-car garage for parking. The application did receive a variance under ZBA 26-8 to permit this demo and larger rebuild as parts of the old structure and new structure encroach the setback. So they received the proper variances to facilitate the application that you're reviewing tonight. This is a quick look at the parcel. The yellow is the property boundary. The red is what the new footprint is going to be. It's along the same footprint as the old one, but it's going up. And then this orange is that new porch and stairs to be added for proper access. This is a drawing of what the house will look like. This is the front, and there's the garage on the bottom there, and there's that stairs and porch, and a dormered second, or I guess that's the third story. And then this is the side view there. There's that dormer bottom level with the flood ports, and then there's that porch and stairs. In terms of the application's adherence to our bulk requirements, it's in the R2 zone, so that table right there. The existing single family that was there that was demolished, it was legal non-conforming. The new home is going to be elevated within that same plane, just vertically, and then with that new porch and stairs in the front. Again, the variances that were needed for this project were secured prior to tonight. The height is conforming. It's peaking at 34 feet 9 inches, so it is beneath our 35-foot cap. In terms of parking, 2 spaces are required for single family. Those 2 spaces are going to be maintained. Creating an earth removal, there's the site itself is not over 5,000 square feet, so there's no concern there. And for soil and erosion sediment controls, they have proposed silt fences to mitigate any excessive soil disturbance. In regard to the driveway that the applicant was mentioning, the new layout wasn't expressly shown on the site plan. So there really is no driveway relocation that's included as part of this application. So as a condition of approval on this, we're stating that the applicant would need to come back for a staff level zoning permit to get that driveway permitted. This is an aerial image from spring of last year showing where the old house was. As you can see, it was close to that side yard, but it is no longer there. It was demolished. In terms of the coastal site plan criteria, the coastal resources would be preserved through the proposed use of soil and erosion controls and the limiting of shoreward expansion. They're not going any closer to the water. And of course, it's going to be more compliant with FEMA standards because they're going up. The nearby coastal resources are the coastal hazard area and the shoreline itself. But there are no critical coastal resources within 25 feet of the property or the activity that they're proposing. So therefore, there's no foreseen adverse impacts to the coastal resources that are nearby. In terms of what the other departments had to say about this application, the town engineer stated that the full flood compliance review would be performed when the building permit application is received. That's if that coastal site plan application that we're looking at is approved, and that the groundwater may be elevated where the infiltration system may be non-functional. However, the applicant did submit new documentation showing that the infiltration would not be a concern. A full plan review for the building department would be completed, of course, if this application was approved tonight. And we did refer it to DEEP for this planning and zoning application, and their 35-day window elapsed without official comments. Therefore, we can treat that as their tacit approval. So we're recommending that the commission approve it. We find it to be consistent to the criteria outlined in sections 5.1, 6, and 9.7, like the previous 2 applications. It's about 0.08 acres. It's under 4,000 square feet. This would have been exempt last year, but it's not. It's nearby to coastal resources, but they're elevating it and they're putting the proper erosion controls in place to prevent any adverse impacts to any sensitive resources that are nearby. They have their proper variances, and with that information, we're recommending the commission approve it with the following findings and conditions: our standard coastal site plan finding, and with the conditions that erosion and control measures shall be installed prior to the start of construction, and that no driveway expansion or relocation is included as part of this approval. Any changes to the driveway that's there now will require a separate zoning permit. That's all I got.
Questions, comments from commission members or
Sharon,
staff?
here again.
Sharon?
Just again, commending the applicant for designing something that's consistent with the neighborhood.
Thank you, Sharon. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Sharon. Any other questions, comments from commission members? Hearing none, then does someone want to make an appropriate motion? Again, staff has recommended approval with the finding of consistency with CAM and the two conditions.
Chadwick makes that motion.
Joe Chadwick makes a motion to approve as per the staff report with the finding and the two conditions. Is there a second?
Sharon Hutner will second.
Second by Sharon. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe Chadwick,
Joe Chadwick is in favor.
Joe Vayuso,
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Dave Dyer,
Dave Dyer's in favor.
Sharon Hutner,
Sharon Hutner is in favor.
and the chair is also in favor. So that application is approved.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, we'll proceed now to our public hearings on our agenda. So going item number 1 of our public hearings is Kevin Cisco, applicant, SBC Real Estate Group owner. This is 850 West Main Street, a 2-lot subdivision. It's not actually a public hearing, but there's actually 3 applications, one of which requires a public hearing. So we're going to hear all of those together, I presume. The second one is also the same applicant and owner, Kevin Cisco, applicant, SBC Real Estate Group owner, 850 West Main Street. This is a special exception, 6.8 for grading for a retail building. And the third one, again, this is not a public hearing, but it is a site plan. Again, same applicant and owner, Kevin Cisco, applicant, SBC Real Estate Group owner, 850 West Main Street. It's a site plan for a retail building. And is the applicant ready to proceed with these applications?
Yes. So, hi, I'm Kevin Cisco with Bowler Engineering. We're the civil engineer of record, and we're located at 65 LaSalle Road in West Hartford, Connecticut. And like you just heard, I'm presenting essentially a subdivision of 850 West Main Street with a development on one of the parcels to be a O'Reilly's Auto Parts. And then with that comes the special exception for grading. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll jump right in. See, can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes.
Great. So what you're seeing here is 850 West Main Street. The colors you're seeing they coincide with the existing drainage patterns. The property line is a little bit tighter than that, but you'll see that to the west of this property is undeveloped. It's just woodlands, and then there's actually some wetlands located towards the northwest corner. And we actually received wetland approvals earlier in the month for this project for the disturbance within the upland review area that is kind of in that back north portion of the site. And then to the rear, you'll see there's railroads. And then to the east, there's 2 existing commercial buildings. I believe that's a fast food or Dunkin', I believe. And then there's a retail service behind that. And again, this red area kind of shows our drainage area. So everything is being conveyed to the back of the site where there's an outfall in the north corner here. And that's an existing outfall that discharges into some wetlands that are located off site. And then this site sits a bit higher than the property to the east. So this yellow section correlates with some of the runoff that's just lawn area, and that's going into the neighbor's parcel right now. And then again, a bit of this blue area is running off to the neighbor's parcel as well. Essentially, right now, this is an existing structure here that was a restaurant. I believe it's vacant now. It was most recently called Local. And then the majority of the site is the parking lot, which you'll see kind of extends pretty close to the property line and the frontage here. And as you work your way back, it does go all the way to the rear. And then in the northmost corner here, this box, that is a existing cell tower that's located on site. And there is an existing access easement that runs from the curb cut to the back of the site to access this cell tower. And then along the west property line here, there's some utility poles and an existing Eversource easement. And in the rear, running along this rear property line, is a existing sanitary line, and then there's a sanitary easement back there as well. So there's 3 easements on this site, and we are maintaining the 2 and ensuring that there's still access to that cell tower. And again, there's no water quality treatment currently for this development. Everything is collected and conveyed through catch basins, and then it outfalls directly to the wetlands. So moving on, this is our proposed site plan for the subdivision. You'll see this thick red line here that runs through the middle of the site, kind of down the east, and then along the front here, that's our proposed subdivision line. So lot 1 being the front here, and then lot 2 in the rear, as well as having a bit of a tail here, and then the required frontage in the front of the site. Lot 1's roughly 1.09 acres, and lot 2's just under an acre there. So the entire lot currently is about 2 acres. And we're kind of here. The site plan is more for lot 1. Lot 2, the intention of that is to remove the existing parking lot, replace it with crushed stone in anticipation for future development, but we don't have any proposed plans at this time for lot 2. The telecommunication tower in the rear, that's going to remain. There'll be no disturbance there. And then the lot 1 is kind of the showcase lot here. We've got a just under 7,500 square foot O'Reilly's Auto Parts facility. And then with that, it's supplemented by parking stalls, sidewalk access. We've got landscaping. There's a transformer in the rear here. And then there's a small retaining wall located in this southwest corner, which is indicated by this gray line here. And the lighting plan, we're utilizing full cutoff dark sky compliant fixtures. And as far as easements go, we do have a subdivision plan where we're providing access easement down the entrance drive here. We're utilizing the existing curb cut, so we haven't shifted the drive aisle. And then there's also utility easements that are between lot 1 and lot 2 as necessary. As far as the grading plan, we're maintaining existing drainage patterns. We're actually reducing impervious on site. And actually, before I get too far ahead, there is an existing nonconformity on site. The impervious coverage for the entire site exceeds what the zoning regs require. We are reducing impervious, but lot 1 is still it's still technically not in conformance, but we're reducing existing nonconformity here. So you'll see the impervious surface is 60%. It's currently at just over 75%. Parcel 1 we're bringing down to about 70, and parcel 2 is within that 60% threshold. Going back to the grading plan here, we're maintaining existing patterns where we've got proposed inlets and stormwater pipes that are conveying runoff to the rear of the site. We're utilizing the existing outfall that was shown earlier. And as far as water quality, we're meeting all of the water quality manual standards for the 2024 Connecticut Water Quality Manual. We're reducing flows through the use of reducing impervious. And then as far as water quality volume, we've introduced a hydrodynamic separator, which treats the water quality flow for the site. So we've sized that to meet the requirements. And then we're actually maintaining the existing inlets in the back of the lot, which is on lot 2. And we've upsized a couple pipes to make sure that the future development, we've anticipated about a 23,000 square foot impervious surface. So this stormwater system will handle what we're proposing, as well as any future development up to that impervious area. And then there's a small grass swale located to the west of the building, and again, there's a little bit of runoff to the east, which is kind of how it's working in existing conditions, where some lawn area is going off to the neighbor's property just due to the elevation differences between the two pads. And as far as utilities for the site, we have 2 water service connections, 1 for each parcel, which was coordinated with Regional Water Authority. We've got 1 gas connection from West Main Street, and then we have a telecom connection from an existing utility pole along the front. Electric service is being fed from the existing utility poles that run along the western property line. We're actually pulling off of the same pole that it's currently being pulled from, and we've proposed a new location for the transformer. So it'd be kind of located between the dumpster and the building. And then sanitary that runs to the north, where it eventually connects into an existing lateral that's being used at the moment, and then it ultimately drains to this rear where the existing sanitary line is today. So happy to answer any questions. I do have a full plan set if you want to look at anything else, but I figured I'd start there.
Chuck Anderson, thank you, Mr. Cisco. Jamie, I think you did the staff report on this one, on these 3 actually. Do you want to review that with us?
Sure. Jamie Frederick, Acting Director, screen share. So I did 1 combined staff report for the 3 applications, and at the end I have a recommendation for action to be taken independently on the 3 applications. Overview was already provided. I'll just point out the yellow highlight is 850 West Main Street. The purple line on the left-hand side is the offsite wetland that has been delineated. It seems that there's likely an offsite wetland to the east along the rear of the eastern neighboring property, which has not been delineated. To the right, we have the proposed lot 1 in the front, which is where the site development is proposed, and proposed lot 2. The site plan application pertains to parcel 1, and the grading application pertains to both parcels. Existing nonconformities, the lot currently exceeds the permitted impervious surface area. They're proposing to reduce the nonconformity and keep in line with kind of the existing conditions with a reduction of that nonconformity. All other aspects of both proposed parcels meet the bulk requirements for the district. I did review the available site history, and it appears that there was a free split where the Dunkin' Donuts and property to the rear of that were 1 parcel that was split off from 850 West Main Street. That side had a subdivision approval, and this is the first subdivision of the subject parcel. The 2 lots meet the bulk requirements, again noting that the impervious surface is non-compliant, however they're making it more compliant, and that pertains to both proposed parcels. The subdivision regulations require that solar access be considered. And so I indicated that a note should be placed on the proposed subdivision map indicating consideration has been given to the development of this plan and the use of passive solar energy techniques as required per Connecticut General Statute Section 25B. A phased erosion and sedimentation control plan was submitted with the application. Details including scheduling, construction entrance, anti-tracking pad, catch basin, inlet protection, silt fence, stockpiling, and temporary sediment trap provided. Grading plan was provided and complies with Section 6.8 of the zoning regulations. No street trees are proposed specifically. However, it is noted that 4 trees, 1 existing and 3 proposed, are depicted within the 50-foot frontage of the front property boundary. driveways, a shared driveway is proposed to service both lots, which will be located within a 30-foot wide easement. It's noted that Connecticut DOT will have to approve any modifications to the driveway, existing driveway prior to implementation. There's an existing sidewalk for which they're proposing some minor modifications. Again, that will be subject to Connecticut DOT review. It's also noted that an easement should be provided to the town as applicable for maintenance of the sidewalk. Both lots will be serviced by town sewers, and town engineer comments have been provided. Both lots are serviced by Regional Water Authority. It's also noted that the subject site is located within the Regional Water Authority watershed district, and we did receive a comment letter from Regional Water Authority, which is in the application. There's an existing stormwater system on site for which they're proposing modifications, including the addition of hydrodynamic separator to address water quality. They've included a stormwater management plan with maintenance requirements outlined. And the drainage plan does service both lots 1 and 2 with the appropriate easements provided. Underground utilities are required unless waived by the commission. Site plan indicates that the underground electric will remain. Fire protection, there's an existing fire hydrant located along the southeastern frontage of the existing parcel, in close proximity to the proposed access drive. Regarding the basic standards, both lots appear to, or the overall lot appears to have been created from a free split. So we have before us the subdivision application. Proposal is compliant with the bulk standards with the exception of impervious. Landscape standards. So the site plan application before the commission was submitted after the new landscape regulations took effect. So there's a little bit of a difference in the landscape standards review. Again, or one of the big differences, limits of disturbance relative to the landscape plan. Limits of disturbance have been marked on the site plan. They're largely matched with the existing disturbance on the site from the current site development. The plantings proposed are natives and or cultivars of native plants. Again, the frontage, there are 2 proposed canopy trees and 1 existing tree remain on lot 1. And then there's another tree on lot 2. And there are site triangle concerns, so that tree is located a little bit further back. Residential greenbelt buffer is not applicable. They do meet the 1 tree per 10 parking spaces requirement. The revised landscape regulations speak to landscaping to screen areas that are visible from the public right-of-way. So there has been an increase in the landscaped area on lot 1, which is the front lot, so to speak, with additional plantings and lawn area. And then on lot 2, they're not proposing to disturb the existing edge of woods. And they have existing trees on the eastern side, which are 2 remaining. Off-street parking, there's 40 spaces proposed, including 2 handicap spaces, and a loading area generally exists on the eastern side of the site, or the building. There's 1 pole-mounted sign proposed in the Route 1 setback. Details on size have not been submitted that I could locate in the materials. Outdoor lighting, they have a mixture of pole and building mounted lights. They appear to be compliant with the zoning regulations. It is noted that they appear to be at the upper limits of what's required or permitted, but they do appear to be compliant. Grading and earthwork. This note, grading along Route 1 shall be checked for compliance with the 3-to-1 slope requirement, was prior to revised site plans being submitted, which addressed that comment. Again, the stormwater management system is provided. phased erosion control plan. Interior lots are not applicable as both sites have the required frontage. Again, it's a shared driveway to service both lots. They do have a retaining wall proposed in the front, which is at least 6 feet from parking spaces as required for the regulations. Townwide design criterias, again, the electric utilities are underground. And then traffic, proposed use is not expected to generate any specific traffic concerns. Curb stops are proposed where parking spaces abut the buildings or sidewalks, and applicant proposes access from existing Route 1 sidewalk to proposed building on Lot 1, in addition to the existing sidewalk along Route 1. The proposed retail store use is permitted by site plan approval in the subject district. Reiterating what I've already stated. Comments from other departments. Fire marshal indicated that full review will be completed when building permit is submitted. Town engineer comments were uploaded to OpenGov. Building official also stated to be reviewed when building permit is received. Inland wetland permit was approved last week. Again, I didn't update that comment. And then Regional Water Authority submitted a letter regarding their concerns. So there again are 3 applications: a subdivision for a 2-lot subdivision, special exception for grading and earthwork, and site plan for retail use. So possible conditions regarding the subdivision. I would recommend that the map be revised to add some additional information as kind of suggested earlier in the staff report, and consistent with past practice, to show lot markers, indicate the consideration of solar, the standard notes required for section 502B1 of the subdivision regulations. And in regard to the town engineer comments, sidewalk shall be straightened out to the extent possible around the pole, and associated easement provided in favor of the town shall be shown on the plan. Reiterating underground utilities are required unless waived by the commission. The easement for the sidewalk along Route 1. Copy of DOT approval to be submitted prior to start of work. Filing. And proposed uses for each lot are subject to review as outlined in the Branford zoning regulations and must receive approval from WPCA as applicable. Lots shall not be used without the required approvals. And then regarding the special exception, which again is grading and earthwork, I would suggest a finding that is consistent with the special exception criteria. Prior to start of construction, sediment and erosion control measures shall be installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer. Copy of DOT approval. If no use is approved for lot 2, traffic shall be restricted by means to be shown on the site plan, subject to staff review, to help ensure that proposed lot 2 doesn't become overflow parking or off parking lot for other uses without the proper approvals. And then site plan, which is the use, I actually do want to modify the no findings or conditions and just suggest that we add no signage details were provided. A separate zoning permit would be required for any proposed signage, so that we can review it for compliance with the zoning regulations.
Is that it, Jamie?
That is it.
Okay. Jamie, one question I had is that you indicated that the town engineer submitted some comments to OpenGov, and frankly, I haven't looked at those. Do you recall what they were? I know there was some drainage stuff going on.
One. I don't recall off the top of my head, but I'm looking to pull them up.
Okay. Okay, maybe, yeah, I was gonna try to look for those, but maybe you can try to locate those as we go on. Other questions and comments from commission members or staff before we open this up to the public?
Sharon Hutner.
Sharon?
I didn't see any landscaping plans. Are we not requiring those anymore?
There is a landscape plan. I just don't think the applicant shared it. So while I'm looking for the engineer's comments, perhaps he can share that.
Yeah, I can
I
reshare my
didn't
screen.
see it on open.gov.
It's part of the full site plan package. It's towards the end.
Oh, okay. I guess I missed that.
It's,
Go ahead.
all I was gonna say, it's no worries. I can walk you through it if you'd like. It's
Yeah, my specific question is I was glad to see that 6.3 was applied to the major, the front of the building, but there was nothing mentioned about the parking lot. Will there also be native trees in the parking lot?
the landscape plan here, and I'll go ahead and share my screen because that'll probably
Okay,
be
great. Thank you.
answer. Let's see. Can you see my screen? And
Yes.
so the rendering here shows, I mean, I can bring you to the landscape plan, but I think that this rendering shows it a bit better. The main landscaping we have is in the front here, where we have, this is an existing tree, and then we're proposing 3 canopy trees along the frontage. There's another proposed tree here. This is all striped out for truck loading for O'Reilly's. That's their kind of their site logistics to get a truck in here and turn around appropriately without running over a curb or any plantings along this side. And then in the rear here, we have an end cap here with a tree, proposed tree kind of.
Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt, but in the essence of saving time, I'm really more interested in the listing of the type of plants that you're planting, not the kind and where they are. I could see that on the plan, but I didn't see a list of the, right, I'm more interested in that. Thank you.
Yep. So I'm not the landscape architect that prepared these plans. They're in our office. This is the plant schedule that's in the plan set. These plants are all native. So we've got a few maple trees, dogwood, and then some winter berries and some sumacs. And one of the things we had done during the wetland review was we put quite a few additional plantings along this west property line where we had to essentially regrade the site to make it work. And because of that, we had to remove some vegetation that encroached onto the lot, and we've gone ahead and replaced that to kind of maintain a wetland buffer there. So that was kind of the improvements there. And then the front here, so those ARA trees that you're seeing, those are the red point maple trees with the 2.5-inch caliper when they're planted. And then the CSF and the RAG, those are your dogwood and, what did I say? Sorry. The
I saw the inkberry and those are all great.
Okay, great. You might be more familiar with the plants than I am, to be honest with you.
Okay, well, I appreciate the explanation, so thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Chuck Andersquare, any other questions or comments from commission members or staff before we open this up to the public?
Jamie Frederick, I did find the town engineer comments. I can screen share them if you would find them helpful. I will note that the comments, written comments provided were provided prior to the site plan revisions. And I did touch base with the town engineer after the revised plans were received, and they were generally satisfied with the revisions and relative to the comments provided. Comments were regarding stormwater and sanitary sewer. for the most part, with some general comments regarding easements and grading, which were addressed.
Okay, so if the letter has been addressed, I don't necessarily need to see it, but if you check with the town engineer and he confirmed that the plan was revised to address his comments, I'm okay with that. Okay, hearing no other questions, comments from commission members or staff. Let's see if any member of the public wish to comment on this application. Does any member of the public wish to comment? Again, Dan, why don't you just refresh?
Yes,
Remind us
you can
how we
hit
do
the
it.
raise hand button by pressing on the heart react button to let us know that you'd like to speak. If you can't find it, you can always just unmute yourself, and please state your name and address for the record prior to providing your comments.
See anybody?
Not at the moment.
Okay, doesn't appear that there's any public comment on this, so does the applicant wish to make any additional comments?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, and any further comments from commission members or staff?
Mr. Alonso, were you trying to speak?
No,
I
I
saw
was
that
not,
you
sorry.
unmuted yourself. Okay, all right, just making sure. No, I'm all set.
Okay, hearing no other comments from commission members or staff and no comments from the public or the applicant, I guess we can close item number 2, which is really the only public hearing on this, but close these matters for now. And then depending on how this goes, we will maybe able to take this up later on at our meeting. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that brings us then to item number 4. That is Heather Rumor, applicant. That's 1064 Main Street LLC, GFA Management and Owner, 1032, 1064 Main Street. Special exception change of use to limited retail. And my understanding, Jamie, tell me if I'm correct, is the applicant has asked, there were some outstanding questions, and the applicant has asked that we open and continue this one. Is that correct? Or
This one, the notices to abutters didn't go out, so I would probably recommend opening and continuing without testimony to the July 9th meeting so that the proper notices can be sent.
okay. So that was, the regulations, the abutting property owners were not sent out. So we will simply open and continue this matter to our July 9th meeting. So if you're here on that one, we'll defer any testimony on this one. So we're all in the same position, hearing it for the first time on July 9th. So that's item number 4. Item number 5, Wayne Cook, trustee of FC Cook Trust, applicant owner of 596 East Main Street. Wayne Cook and Catherine Marie Cook, applicants and owner of 612 East Main Street, and NFW Associates, applicants and owners of 616 East Main Street. And those are the applicants and owners, and the address is 596, 612, 616 East Main Street. This is a special exception for a hospital, section 6.8 and associated, section 7.8 and associated grading, section 6.8. Is the applicant ready to proceed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is John Nuff. I'm an attorney with an office at 42 Cherry Street in Milford, Connecticut. I'm here tonight on behalf of Encompass Health Connecticut Real Estate LLC, which is the contract purchaser of the 3 subject parcels. They consist of approximately 20.63 acres, and we're located in an IG2 zone. As you noted, Mr. Chairman, there are 2 special exception applications pursuant to 4.8.J, which is your institutional use section of your table of uses. We propose a hospital, which is permitted subject to 4.8.J.7, and then also, as you noted, a grading and earth removal special exception as well. One housekeeping note, we have provided our proof of mailing of the public hearing to your town staff on June 15th, and those went to everyone within 100 feet of our property. We know that you have a lengthy agenda, so we plan on being thorough but concise. I want to give you a couple of highlights before we get into the meat of our program. Encompass proposes to construct an inpatient rehabilitation hospital treating those recovering from serious injury or illness, including stroke, traumatic brain injury, and spinal cord and orthopedic injuries. It will offer individualized treatments such as occupational, physical, and speech therapies. The average age of our patients will be about 75 years old, and the average stay will be about 2 weeks, after which they will return home to their own residences. The hospital does not treat emergencies, so we will not have any ambulances delivering patients to the hospital, and we do not treat those who misuse drugs or alcohol. We initially proposed the first phase of 50 beds and then a second phase of 30 beds. And we'll specify where that location is on our site plan when Eric Lindquist, who's our professional engineer, has an opportunity to address you. In short, this is a really wonderful opportunity and an asset for the town of Branford that you can have this type of facility that can provide crucial treatments to patients within the community and very close to your loved ones. So Edmund Ball, who is the Chief Real Estate Officer from Encompass, will be providing a bit more detail in a few minutes, but I did want to provide a few other comments specific to our application. First, as Jamie's thorough staff review notes, we have received wetland approval after a multi-month public hearing process with the Inland Wetland Commission. There was a very thorough third-party review of our application, which not only reviewed impacts to wetlands, but also our stormwater treatment system, and that our wetland approval includes a number of conditions that have found their way into your staff report regarding tonight. So obviously, we cannot do anything until we comply with all the conditions within our inland wetland approval. That's already part of the record in this application. That positive review by your wetland commission and by the peer reviewer was facilitated by the fact that the vast majority of our property is going to be left in its natural state. We're only developing that portion of the property which has previously been developed and mown. We are proposing 8% building coverage, where 30% is permitted. We're proposing 22% impervious coverage, where 60% is permitted. We propose, on our own volition, and it became a condition of approval, a conservation easement along the steep slopes adjacent to the river. That conservation easement is approximately 5 acres or 25% of our site. In addition to that, we will have very limited traffic impacts. We will have generally 2 shifts employees. The first shift will arrive before 7 a.m. Their shift begins at 7 a.m. and extends till 7 p.m. And then the nighttime shift obviously is the reverse, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Some other employees will be arriving between the hours of 7 and 8 because their workday begins at 8 o'clock. The peak hour in this area is from 8 to 9 on a weekday. So all of our employee traffic will be taking place prior to the peak hour. Nevertheless, the hospital will offer significant employment opportunities for skilled workers. During the daytime shift, when we have 50 beds, there will be 92 employees during the day and 20 employees at night. And then once we expand to the full 80 beds, there will be 134 daytime employees and 30 nighttime employees. So very significant employment opportunities. The site planning will, as you'll see, has a robust landscape plan with its focus on native species. We have a very attractive 1-story building. So if you look at the permitted uses and special exception uses in the IG2 zone, and you look at the potential gold standards and the traffic that could be associated with those, and you compare them with our employment opportunities and the real property taxes that we will be paying, it's almost impossible to conceive of another permitted use that will have a greater positive impact on the community with virtually no negative impacts of any kind. So we'll get into the details of all that, and we'll address some of the comments in Jamie's memo at the end. But first, I want to introduce Edmund Ball, the Chief Real Estate Officer. And then after that, you'll hear from Eric Lindquist, who's a professional engineer with Ty and Bond. Our architect, Eddie Alonso, is here from Gresham Smith. And then Craig Yanis is our traffic engineer, also from Ty and Bond. So with that, I give you Edmund Ball from Encompass.
Thanks, John. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Like John mentioned, I'm Edmund Ball. I'm Chief Real Estate Officer for Encompass Health. I'm based in Birmingham, Alabama. I recognize I probably don't sound what you might think a person from Alabama sounds like, but I appreciate you having us tonight and incorporating us into the agenda. As John mentioned, Encompass Health is one of the largest inpatient rehabilitation providers in the country. We currently have 175 hospitals in about 36 states. We choose our markets really based on the need. We work with Medicare and publicly available medical data to determine that any hospital we build will be filled up and really utilized not only by the community in which it is literally located in, but from the immediate area. We recently opened a hospital in Danbury, Connecticut, which has enjoyed a lot of success. And we have a few more established hospitals around Connecticut. But like I said, we determined that there is a great need in the Branford area. And we're excited and really pleased to find a site that works with our site plan. I'd be happy to answer any questions or concerns, as it were, for regarding our use, and we'll otherwise turn it over to Eric, our civil engineer.
Good evening. Thank you for that, Edmund. For the record, my name is Eric Lindquist. I'm a senior project manager at Ty and Bond, and as John noted, a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut. So I will begin by sharing my screen and going through a few slides here. Let me know if this doesn't come through or if I need to do anything differently. But what you see before you is a rendered site plan of what the proposed development looks like. This is the full build-out scenario. That's what the application in front of you is for. As John noted, there'll be a second phase. This will be broken up into two phases. Essentially, the entire building site will be developed as part of phase one. So all the infrastructure for the building will be there to sustain both the phase one and phase two construction. The perimeter looping road, all that will be constructed as well. In red is the area of the building that is the phase two portion of the site. When Eddie speaks, the architect, he'll go more into depth on the architecture and floor plan and how that's broken up. The only area, we haven't done the phasing plans yet, but the only area that may not be constructed from the site would be this small parking area in the back here, which is intended for the rear portion. But the balance of the site, drainage, utilities, infrastructure, all of that will be going in under phase one. So as we go into the site plan, as you can see, this is just essentially the same thing without the color. We front loaded the accessible parking out front. This is where the main drop off for the building will be. This is essentially the same layout that is done for all their sites. It provides great circulation. We will have one entrance that is essentially where the existing entrance is, where if you've been out there, you see the big apple for the orchard. That main entrance there will be maintained. The second egress point is further down the hill. That will be a new curb cut, but we'll be getting rid of the other curb cut for the existing residence that's over in this area. So we'll still be maintaining two curb cuts for this development, which will provide for us to have the circulation we need for deliveries, for fire access and apparatus for good circulation and 360-degree access of the building. Other than that, the site is fairly straightforward. As was noted, this is a one-level building, so grading around the site is pretty flat. There's a central knoll on the site. When we get into the grading, you'll see it a little better, but that's the only place we'll really be cutting is around the eastern edge of the property in the central portion. The balance of the site will be in more of a fill, which is why we have a wall over on the western side of the site. It's a wall that meets the zoning requirements. It's only 8 feet in height, and that's the main real area of fill on the site as well. One thing I forgot to mention on the rendering, I wanted to kind of point out here, the darker green on this represents the area of natural forest on the site. The light green is essentially what will be the developed portion, but it is largely what is the developed portion now. This is all existing grassland and field in this area. There's some existing parking lots here and existing buildings and homes. The only area we'll be cutting down a few trees is along the frontage, and when I get to the landscape plan, I'll be able to show this better, as well as a little bit along the edge here where the wall is at its steepest point. We had to clear down to kind of make access for the grading. But by and large, the vast majority of the site is through previously disturbed areas, and will be a big part of how we designed the site and laid it out was to take advantage of that and make sure we're leaving as much of the natural buffer and vegetation on site as possible. So as I noted, this is the fire apparatus going through the site. It easily is able to maneuver through the site and gain full access, 360-degree circulation. So that's showing great circulation and visibility. As part of the grading, which, like I said, when I get into the drainage, you'll be able to see a little better. We did pull back some of the trees along the frontage, as well as some of the grading to provide for sight lines. Currently, sight lines aren't great out there, and we've just improved upon them to give us the required sight lines we need to be able to see oncoming traffic, is because we're located a little bit on a corner here. There's also a little bit of vertical geometry there. And the hillside comes kind of close to the roadway, as well as some of the trees, and they really block your ability to see as you leave these driveways. And that's an existing condition too. Some of these driveways really don't have good sight lines now. So that'll be taken care of as part of the application as well. So as I get into drainage, I show this just to kind of give an understanding. Once again, the light green is the area that's cleared currently, and dark green is the area that's forested. And you can kind of see the existing buildings and pavement that's out there currently. So this is the existing watershed map for the site, which shows the drainage areas and where they go. There's a large portion of the site, EXWS2, which goes off to the wetlands and off to the western side of the site. There's WS1B and 1A, which are combined because there is an existing, I hesitate to call it a pond. It was a man-made feature done by the owner of the property to create a feature for something he planned on site that was never built. So that is out there just essentially serving really no purpose, man-made basin, as it were. And we've modeled that into our scenario here, showing that there's an overland area that goes to this basin that overflows and then goes down the hill to the river that's down here. And that's all called design point A. So this is just kind of breaks out the layout of the area and how we evaluate our drainage study. So when we go into the proposed model, you'll see our goal is to maintain what's out there currently and design the drainage to match and maintain the existing flows as much as possible. So we still maintain a design point down the hill. We still maintain a design point off to the west and the same small area going out to the front. As part of our design, we implemented the reuse of this man-made basin into a more significant water feature for the site. Currently, that basin is full of invasive species. Like I said, it serves no ecological purpose. So what we've done as part of our mitigation plan, we went through the wetlands meetings through all these types of features and incorporated some really good comments on their end, their third-party review. We went through this whole design with them as well, and I'm more than happy to answer questions on this if anyone has them. But we cleared out invasives. We scoured out the pond a little bit, made it deeper to allow it to meet the deep requirements for a wet pond, which is essentially a 4-foot standing body of water. Currently, it does not maintain that, so you'll see a lot of phragmites. The goal is to get rid of those types of things, get rid of the invasives, and reintroduce, and I'll show this when we get to the planting plan, more the type of planting you want to see in a basin like this. So wetland plantings, things that are going to thrive, create pollinators throughout the site, all the kind of good stuff we want to see throughout this development. So this will provide water quality for our drainage, as well as the water quality structures that we have, and I'll show those in a few minutes or a few seconds here. So this just highlights in blue where the storm drainage is, how we're conveying the piping through the site. This is how one of the areas we had to maintain a discharge over here just because of the grading on site. We provide a water quality structure for a small drainage area here and discharge it off to a level spreader. And in the back, we do the same thing. We bring it to the pond. There's a water quality structure here for structural control. That goes into a sediment forebay where it then discharges into the primary pond. And then there's an outlet control structure which mitigates the flow from the pond, enabling us to ensure that we're maintaining peak flows to all the 4 discharge points to meet or reduce flows in all those areas. As part of the wetlands approval, there have been discussions on a conservation easement. I just wanted to show that to you here. As we noted, and I showed back on this slide, we're discharging through this area. There's an existing clearing, and that's where the level spreader for the pond will be for discharging sheet flow down the hill. There were questions raised about what we're going to do in the back here, about existing stabilization and stuff. So as part of those discussions, and John can go into this in more detail if there are questions, we were maintaining the whole rear of the site for conservation to show we're not going to be disturbing anything there. We're just going to allow this to be able to go back there. We've reintroduced some not ornamental grasses, but grasses that are native that will go along here and help prevent any erosion going down the hillside. So this has been shown on our plans, and this is something that's proposed and currently in discussions with the town about the exact extent and how that will be implemented. As I mentioned, there's an extensive erosion control phase, erosion control plan for the site. Basically, go in there and cut out the knoll in the center of the site first and start to build our perimeters. We went through a whole discussion on this through the wetlands meeting as well, how we want to get rid of the invasives, establish the pond as soon as possible so that we have water quality present right off the get-go, and make sure we maintain erosion control measures around the site. There were several questions that are conditions as part of the approval that we've already incorporated into your application, into this application, that came out of that. So extending the S&E fences and things like that were comments in there, they've already been incorporated. So as I go through here, like I said, there's more erosion controls out back. I know there was a comment from engineering about sizing the spillway. That is a condition of the Inland Wetlands Commission, so we are obligated to provide that. We just didn't design it at this point. That was a CD level detail we plan on doing. So that the size of that will just be essentially a stoned spillway size to match the flow that's coming into the pond, which is essentially what it will be. Utilities, fairly straightforward. We've gotten comments from engineering and WPC approval. We made a couple of modifications to this to accommodate their comments as well, tying into the manhole out in East Main Street. Certain sizes of piping, minimums, various details for the grease separator, etc. That's all been added to the plans and incorporated. And the balance of the utilities will simply be coming down a corridor to the utility yard. There'll be generators in back, transformers in back, an O2 but an O2 tank that's located off the back there. So all the utilities are in the same area, off on the northeastern side of the building. As noted, here's the extensive landscaping plan. Now, this landscaping plan, as you can see, is fairly extensive. It's basically a blend of ornamental flowering trees, shrubs, and perennials that are located around the building footprint. Those are more ornamental in nature at the foundation plantings. As you go out from there, get into the trees around the parking lot, the wetland plantings, the grasses. Those are all native species, all the things we want to maintain out there. So all the trees are native. Like I said, the only thing that's really non-native are the ornamental stuff right along the foundation walls, just the flowering shrubs and things of that nature. But the balance of the site, and essentially as you go away from the building, it gets native. More than happy to go through this. I'm not the landscape architect, but I can answer questions and do have most of the information on that. If there are any further questions on this, but you can see in red the trees that will be removed, and everything else is what's being added. In total, there'll be 178 new trees on this site, and we're only removing 40, and most of them aren't significant. So there's an extensive increase in vegetation and trees on the site as part of this application. And this just shows the wetland plantings, how, like I said, we're removing invasive species from around the pond, and we're going to be adding in shrubs and various other more conducive wetland plantings and seed mixes and stuff to the basin. As well as one of the comments was to add some grasses around the discharge to help with erosion, which we've added to the plans as well. Here is a copy or some photos of the deciduous trees that are going to be on site. I can zoom in and show any of these, but this is essentially the trees that are being used on site for evergreen deciduous, as well as the understory trees, the smaller, more ornamental trees. As you can see, there's a blend of shades of leaf foliage and everything else. The design approach is to have these things flowering at different times of the year, so there's always some sort of pop or bloom that is around the building to make this look really nice. So that is really the intent here, is just make this an attractive landscaping environment throughout the year. And then these are the shrubs and the more ornamental, lower growth things, as well as the wetland plantings. Lastly, lighting. Lighting was designed to meet the town requirements. I believe it's a 24-foot pole, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't write it down. I forgot to before I got up here, but we made sure to match the foot candle requirements around the town. There was a question about whether the building was included with the to have a comprehensive lighting plan. Building lighting was not included with this. This is just site lighting. However, the lighting on the building are essentially wall packs, and Eddie maybe you can speak to this as well, but basically it's going to be the same thing that was done in Danbury, if anyone's seen that building. They're small lights that reflect straight down. They don't have any uplight. They're really designed more to accent the building than to provide lighting around the site. So I would just say that they're not going to impact the photometric numbers, especially around the perimeters at all. There's canopy lights as you come under that are shining straight down. There's no light shed around or anything like that. So it'll be a fairly straightforward plan. And while it doesn't include those lights, like I said, it's really not going to affect the photometric numbers. And having said that, that concludes my remarks, and more than happy to pass it along.
Thanks, Eric. I'm just going to make one comment before Eddie addresses the commission. If there's any questions about the stormwater basin that's going to be converted from the current pond, that was the subject of, I would say, intense scrutiny by the Wetland Commission, to their credit, as well as by the peer reviewer, and as well as Jamie Frederick. And so if you have any questions, we can get deeper into that. But I can assure you that it was the receipt of a lot of careful thought by the Wetland Commission, and they ultimately decided that it was the right way to approach stormwater, and they were very satisfied, particularly with a few minor conditions that the peer reviewer has suggested. So with that, I'm going to give you Eddie Alonso, who is our project architect.
Good evening. My name's Eddie Alonso. I'm a vice president and healthcare architect with Gresham Smith. I'm based in Birmingham, Alabama, and I'm happy to share with you the exterior of the building and the floor plans, as well as some elevations. I'll share my screen here. All right. Let me know if you can see that. Can everybody see my screen?
Now they can, Eddie.
Great. All right. So this is a rendering of the front of the building facing East Main. The building itself is a one-story building, as was mentioned previously. It does try to emphasize the main entrance of the building and the lobby to provide intuitive wayfinding. We do that through several types of mechanisms in the facade of the building. So we both do that by materials and also the scale of the building. So we utilize some taller parapets and some of the larger spaces that face Main Street to become a very easy wayfinding device for the visitors and patients coming to the site. The front entrance main canopy is located right off the main lobby at the front of the building, easily identifiable. And again, it's cladded with a stone veneer, which wraps around the entire building to provide that level of protection at the base of the building throughout. We also utilize glass and metal to emphasize those public entryways and keep spaces that we want to bring attention to for the public to access the building. As Eric showed as well in his landscape plan, we do utilize a lot of landscaping around the building to break down the scale of the building and also provide some visual interest both outside and inside of the building, looking out to the surrounding areas for the patients and staff to enjoy. In reviewing the plan itself, just wanted to give you a brief understanding of how the building is developed and laid out. So the right side of this building is essentially the what we call the therapy portion of the building. So it will house the therapy gym, speech therapy rooms, the ADL suite, which is a simulated home environment that the PT staff uses to help the patients acclimate to returning home at some point. So this also incorporates the dialysis unit, and also has administrative suite and also the dining and kitchen areas of the building. On the rear side of the building, on this side is also the maintenance and service areas of the building, along with the service yard. And we try to utilize the bulk of the building to screen off that area of the site as much as possible. On the right side on the left side of the screen here, you'll see in blue the 50-bed nursing unit. That is developed around the central main nurse station that provides visibility of all the patient corridors. And the other thing that's a main feature as well is the public day room space, which is prominently shown on the front of the building. It provides that level of access for patients to be able to have a very recreational and comfortable environment to be with their loved ones when they come to visit as well. And then you'll see in the middle of the plan also a therapy courtyard, which is also utilized for the public as well during non-therapy hours. But that area provides an area for recreation and therapy at the same time. And then in the evening, it usually shifts to more of a recreational gathering point for visitors and their loved ones. And then lastly, I'll show the elevation of the building. Again, this is a one-story building. We do utilize those higher spaces or gathering spaces that we can provide a little bit taller ceiling environment to create some visual interest and break up the facade of the building. And then we also maintain strong screening elements of the mechanical units and just trying to make this as pleasing a facade as possible for the hospital and then the community that will be visiting. That's all I have. Welcome any questions, and if not, I'll turn this over to Craig to speak about traffic.
Thanks, Eddie.
All right.
Yeah, let me share my screen here. Can you all hear me okay and see my presentation? Great.
Yep.
So for the record, Craig Yanis, Senior Project Manager at Ty & Bond. I'm a professional engineer, professional traffic operations engineer, and a roadway safety professional. I'm going to go through an overview of the traffic statement that we prepared for the project. So first, I want to show the delayed here. Are you able to see the study area? Oh, there's not one to the end. You get a preview. Okay, so there we go. So first orient you to the site layout in the study area. So you have the site in the center in the red along East Main Street. It's designated as US Route 1. Just to note, north is up and to the right. Our study area are shown in the circles. So it included the two site driveways that Eric went over, as well as the signalized intersection to the west, which is East Main Street at School Ground Road and Leeds Island Road. The study area intersections were selected based on the expected traffic flow and the layout of the adjacent roadway network. So data collection and subsequent analysis were performed at these study area locations. Is it going to do this to me again? Not sure what's happening. I will let that load for a second. There we go. Okay. So this table presents the expected traffic flows for the proposed Encompass facility. For this type of use, we analyze the peak periods of the roadway traffic, which Mr. Nuff alluded to. The peak hours were 8 to 9 in the morning and 4 to 5 p.m. In the afternoon, based on our traffic counts that we collected. As John mentioned, the main shift for the employees is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So the traffic accessing the site for these employees, the most traffic accessing the site, won't overlap with these roadway peak hours, which is a good thing. As shown on the table here in front of you, the Encompass site is expected to generate approximately 40 to 45 peak hour trips for the morning and the afternoon peak hours. These values are based upon the Institute of Transportation Engineers trip generation manual, along with our review of the employee projections and shifts from Encompass. Overall, this is a relatively low traffic generator within the peak hours. There's a slew of other uses, as John mentioned, that could generate significantly more traffic: daycare centers, general office, medical office, research labs, banks, restaurants, gas stations. So this is a pretty complementary use, a low traffic generating use. And I also wanted to highlight again that this facility will not have an emergency department and won't have a significant amount of ambulance traffic. Encompass has scheduled admissions and they're not emergency in nature. And just to mention too, this is based on the full facility, built out the 80 beds, the 73,000 approximately square foot building. So in order to take this and look at the analysis results, we added it to the traffic that we collected. This table presents the results of the combined traffic, so the future conditions that we project. With capacity analyses, we always look at level of service, which is a letter grade A through F. Anything level service D or better is considered acceptable. As you can see on the table, the signalized intersection East Main at School Ground Road and Leeds Island Road operates at level service B and C. The site traffic is really a minimal additional delay, less than half a second per vehicle for any given movement, and many with even less than that. So really good operations at that signal during the peak hours. And the site driveways, you can see there, level service A for entering and exiting traffic, minimal delays and queues for those as well. So the last slide kind of just summarizes some of our findings and conclusions. You have the summary of the site traffic, 40 to 45 peak hour trips. In addition to the traffic analysis, we also performed an existing and proposed safety review. We didn't find any significant collision patterns within the crash data reported, and the site traffic is not expected to impact the safety within the study area. As Eric mentioned, we reviewed the site distances from the proposed driveways. We are proposing some regrading, the vegetation clearing and trimming along the site frontage to provide these site distances. So that's kind of the future looking safety component, making sure we do have sight lines so people can get into and out of the driveway. As I summarized on the last slide, there's minimal impacts to the traffic operations. The site driveway works at level service A at all times. And it's the professional opinion of Ty and Bond that the traffic generated by this facility will not have an impact to traffic operations or safety within the study area. So with that, I can turn it back over to John.
Thanks, Craig. Mr. Chairman, we're happy to answer any questions. I think typically you would, after commission questions, you would ask whether probably have Jamie go through her staff reports. In the interest of time, I would just like to note that there was a suggestion by the town engineer that we give an easement for a sidewalk along our road frontage. We're happy to provide that easement. No objection there. The conservation easement, frankly, you know, we have a ways to go before we close on the property, and we even have the ability to grant a conservation easement. But nonetheless, you know, I have had conversations with Julie Wagner from the Land Trust, and those have been very, very friendly and cordial. She's obviously someone who's very committed to her cause, and frankly, we've had a very pleasant conversation this morning. So we're looking forward to working with the Land Trust and with the town in terms of granting that conservation easement, providing an easement for the sidewalk. The fire department said they will do their review once we submit for our building permits. I think everything else is pretty straightforward. There was a condition regarding our spillway detail, and that's a condition of our wetland approval. So obviously we'll be doing that. So I think that probably addresses most of the things. I mean, typically we would be doing a response to comment letter. And when Eric and I read Jamie's memo and talked about it, it's like, you know, her staff review, while thorough, is sort of unremarkable and in need for a specific response. So we're happy to answer any questions, and hopefully, you know, that review of her memo saves you a little bit of time.
Thank you, Mr. Nuff. Why don't we go ahead, Jamie? I know we have a comment. You prepared an extensive memo that maybe you can review, hit the highlights with us. And I think there's a question from me that we got something from our town attorney as well. I'll ask him to go over that. So, Jamie, you want to review your staff report? Jamie, are you
mute, Jamie?
Yeah, muted.
Sorry. Jamie Frederick. So we've got an aerial image kind of showing the 3 subject sites. And then the site plans have already been shared, kind of red box shows where on the site the general improvements are being proposed. Again, already seen the architecturals. Project narrative was provided with the application that speaks to the proposed use and site development. We did receive a traffic study and drainage report along with drainage maintenance plan. There is around 9.75 acres of disturbance, so a Connecticut construction stormwater general permit will be required. It is noted that the architectural plans and the presentation shown by Eric Lindquist indicate that the building may be phased, phase 1, phase 2. There's no site development plans to correspond with that, so that might be something the commission wants to consider whether additional information is needed. I do also just want to call out while I'm thinking of it, the presentation by Eric Lindquist and the traffic engineer. If those could be shared with staff to be added to the file, that would be great. Inland wetland permit was granted for the project. A conservation easement is provided along the northern portion of the property as shown in the presentation by Eric Lindquist. Just to kind of highlight on the northern property boundary, northwestern property boundary, is the Branford River. And the conservation easement is in the upland area adjacent to that. On the other side of the Branford River is Van Wilgens and driving range at the end of Tipping Drive. And then to the west of the site is Woodlands, and to the east is the YMCA. It is noted that the Branford Trail runs through the property. IG zone doesn't permit residential use. It is my understanding from reviewing the application that there's no residential uses proposed in association with the facility. While there does not appear to be a formal statement to or intent to abandon non-conforming uses, it is noted that there are 2 residential homes on the properties which are proposed to be demoed as part of the proposed site development. The proposed site development complies with the bulk requirements for the IG2 zone, with the understanding that the lots will be combined. Landscape requirements, I'll note that this application was submitted prior to the change in the landscape regulations, so it falls under the landscape regulations that the commission has been familiar with reviewing applications under. As the applicant has indicated, there's an extensive landscaping plan that includes plantings along the front, side, rear, along the stormwater basin. The plan has been stamped by architect from Ty and Bond. I think that's all I have to say on that. Off-street parking, 163 spaces are provided where 127 are required, and it's noted that that is for the full site build out. Site identification sign is proposed in the front setback area, however, details have not been provided. Either further details should be provided under this application or a separate zoning permit for signage shall be obtained. Lighting plan, as we was already discussed, is pole-based lighting plan. No building and lighting is identified. It is noted that lighting compliant with the zoning regulations is identified as something that could be reviewed as a minor modification to existing site plan reviews. So if the commission was comfortable with deferring the building lighting to review by staff, that is a possibility. Base erosion control plan was submitted. Interior lots not applicable. As they indicated, 2 drivers are proposed to help with site circulation. There are retaining walls proposed that comply with the zoning requirements. They do not exceed 8 feet in height, and there are at least 60 parking spaces. A fence is proposed on top of the taller wall and around the stormwater pond, and dumpster enclosure is depicted near the northeast corner of the proposed building, and there are also enclosures or screening proposed relative to the generator and oxygen farm areas. It's my understanding that utilities will be underground. Pedestrian walkways are proposed interior to the site. Connections to adjacent sites and along the site frontage is not proposed. Traffic study was provided and we received a presentation this evening. And then again, just a couple comments regarding the sidewalks along the frontage, required per section 615D. The site is located within a priority 3 sidewalk area per the Branford Plan of Conservation and Development. And the 2023 Branford Walkability Study identifies the location as a critical sidewalk gap. The Branford Pedestrian Ad Hoc Advisory Committee submitted a letter in support of requiring sidewalks along the frontage of the property. And it's noted that there is a pond located near the front of the property that would likely be impacted if sidewalks were to be installed. So any sidewalks along the frontage would likely require inland wetland review. And then the town engineer had some comments regarding sidewalks as well. Fire marshal did look at the application and indicated that full plan review will be completed once a permit is received if applicable to fire code. During the early plan review, the fire marshal did request that the fire apparatus plan be provided, which it was. Town engineer comments indicate WPCA application will need to be submitted. The spillway comment was also provided to wetlands and is part of conditions of approval. Public sidewalks and easements, if applicable, should be provided across the entire frontage of the 3 properties. And then just some general comments regarding drainage and land notes. Building officials stated review will occur when the building permit application is submitted in the Wetlands Agency. Permit was issued. It's noted that not all of the permit conditions have been complied with and that some of the scale drawings are not correct. That's one of the conditions of approval for inland wetlands, is for that to be clarified to make sure that there's no issues with the site development in the field. Special exception requirements specifically relative to the hospital use, section 7.8, parcel meets lot size requirement of 2 acres. Reports from East Shore and the fire marshal were not provided with the application. It is noted that fire marshal comments were provided above, and again that the fire apparatus turning movement plan was provided. And I believe that the location is subject to state review rather than so much local East Shore District Health review. I've just copied the commission required special exception criteria from the regulations for the commission's consideration. And then in regards to review, I would just suggest that the commission determine that they're satisfied with the information regarding East Shore District Health and Fire Marshal reviews, WPCA approval, which perhaps the applicant can speak to where they are with that process, if they've submitted or not, conservation easement as presented to the IWWA, and whether a phase plan is appropriate for the phase 1, phase 2 development, 50 bed, 80 bed, and then the sidewalk along the frontage / easement for future installation. And then there are 2 applications, essentially, one for earthwork and grading, general finding consistent with 9.8F, I think would be appropriate if the commission agrees. And then prior to start of any site disturbance, erosion controls shall be installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer. Additionally, prior to start of site work, plans shall be revised to comply with the inland wetland permit. And then for the special exception for use, hospital and convalescent home, I would suggest the following findings: subject to compliance with the conditions below, compliant with special exception criteria, and a finding that no residential uses are proposed as part of the proposed use. Again, prior to start of site work for conditions of approval, documentation that the 3 lots have been merged, sewer access approval must be obtained from the WPCA. Conservation language shall be reviewed and approved by town council and the accepting party, preferably the Branford Land Trust. Sidewalk easement shall be provided to the town for construction and maintenance of sidewalks along frontage of 3 parcels subject to the application. Plan shall be revised to comply with the wetland permit approval. The hospital and convalescent homes use is approved as outlined in the application materials. Any modifications to the use from the application materials provided must be reviewed by the commission. Use must remain consistent with the zone. No residential uses shall be permitted. If building construction is phased, a phase 1 site plan must be submitted for review indicating site stabilization and any deferred parking if applicable. As phase 1 would be a reduction in the size and layout of structures, could be reviewed under site plan regulation 9.6K. All conditions of the wetland permit must be complied with. Separate permits may be required for signage. And any modification to the lighting plan must be reviewed with in compliance with the Branford zoning regulations. That's all I have. And then I believe town council did prepare a memo regarding residential review of the application. And then I also wanted to mention that we did, in addition to receiving the comment letter from the pedestrian ad hoc group, we did receive 1 comment letter in support of the application, I believe from a Branford resident.
Mr. Chair, thank you, Jamie. Bill, you submitted a memo. I think it was a response to a question that I had raised. Did you just want to summarize your conclusion or what that was about?
Sure. Bill Aniskowicz, Brenner Salzman, Town Attorney. Chuck, you had posed, for the benefit of the other members, you had posed the question of whether or not this use could be classified in any way, either under our regulations or under applicable Connecticut case law, as a residential use as opposed to an institutional use. You pointed us to a particular case involving the East Lyme regulations. We did have the opportunity to look pretty thoroughly at that and reached a conclusion that for a variety of reasons detailed in the memo, which I know Jamie will post and which was shared with the applicant's attorney, that this is an institutional use under our regulations, not a residential one. It is a hospital. Unlike the case in East Lyme that was the issue in the JAG Capital case, our regulations, our table of uses separates institutional uses from residential uses very clearly, which is materially different than the East Lyme regulations. In addition, we permit, by special exception, hospitals and convalescent homes. This is very much, as it's been presented to us, a hospital use. It is a licensed healthcare facility. It is not a permanent residence, as Attorney Nuff pointed out in his overview. And for those reasons, and the extent to which treating it as a residential use would basically create an internal conflict within our own regulations, the better interpretation of our regulations and the applicable case law is that this would be considered by a Connecticut court to be an institutional use, not a residential use, and does not therefore open up the IG2 district to other prohibited residential uses.
Thank you, Bill. The question, as Mr. Aniskowicz, I'm sure Mr. Nuff is aware, is it's regarding 830G, the Affordable Housing Statute, which basically says you can disregard your zoning regulations if anyone proposes affordable housing, and you could. It's a very tough burden of proof if you deny an affordable housing application. But there is one portion of that statute says that if the property is zoned industrial and does not permit residential uses, then you could also be exempt. You meet your burden of proof under 830G. So I think in general, we have attempted to limit industrial uses, the IG2 to prohibit residential uses from the IG2 zone from as part of our long-term planning, that this part of the town we want to reserve for uses that are industrial, and in order to stay free from 830G applications or not be vulnerable to 830G applications, or to meet our burden of proof under 830G applications, we can't allow residential uses. So, Mr. Nuff, let me just ask you for the record. Do you agree with Attorney Yanuskowicz that you are not proposing a residential use?
I agree, Mr. Chairman, with, I've read Attorney Yanuskowicz's memo and I agree with it. And I think two things I want to point out about the J case. First, it's 10 years old. I think if someone wanted to take advantage of that in any way, it probably would have happened already. But I think what's really critical is, I think Bill's memo mentions how fact specific that case was. And in that case, they talk about a particular facility that opened the door to 830G in East Lyme. And what the court found is that the residents are expected to live at that facility for the remainder of their lives. Some had lived there for 15 years. They have no other home. They are to live at Bridebrook indefinitely. They are registered to vote. They receive their mail at that address. None of those things will be occurring for the people who come to Encompass for a week or maybe two on average. And then, as I said at the very beginning, and then they will return home. So this in no way opens the door to the IG2 zone for being used for 830G.
Thank you, Mr. Nuff. Questions from commission members or staff before we open it up to the public?
Jamie Frederick, I just ask, WPCA, where are you with that review process? Has an application been submitted?
We have not submitted yet. I've spoken with engineering early on in regards to the things we need to incorporate in the plans, but we are in the process of doing that. It hasn't been submitted yet.
Any other questions? John, Mr. Guskowski, questions, comments?
Thank you. For the record, John Guskowski, consultant to the Planning and Zoning Commission. This is a very minor thing. I may have missed it during the civil presentation. Per a public act a couple of years ago, I believe it was 2022, new parking lots over 30 spaces and new commercial developments require a certain amount of electric vehicle charging infrastructure. I didn't recall that if you noted that, but I just want to verify that your parking lot provides infrastructure for electric vehicle charging.
Our parking lot does not currently provide for that. I forget when that went active. I think our application went in. Wasn't that this year that was it was instituted for?
I believe it was
EV charging?
Project 2225. It was 4 years ago.
All right. We currently do not show EV charging station.
Okay. I apologize for dropping that at the last minute. It was just something that popped in my head.
And thank you, John. But I just want to double check. I thought the 2022 Act referred to residential uses, ironically enough. But we will reconfirm what the current state of the law is with regard to EV infrastructure, and we'll comply.
Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions or comments from commission members or staff before we open up to the public? I do have some comments, but I wanted to hear some public, see if there's any public comments first. So let's open it up to the public. Any member of the public wish to comment?
I have Leslie Johnson. Go right ahead.
Hi, I'm Leslie Johnson. I'm a resident of Branford at 13 Vineyard Road, but really I'm representing the Branford Bicycle Pedestrian Ad Hoc Advisory Committee. I'm 9-member committee member. It sounds like a really nice project, well thought out. I am very pleased to hear that it sounds like that it's very amenable to put in a sidewalk, because we strongly agree, our committee, that a sidewalk needs to go along the East Main Street frontage. Just from the goals of Branford to continue to put in sidewalks for connectivity and safe travel for all people on bicycles, wheelchairs, etc. But I'm really happy to hear that it sounds like sidewalks are likely going to be in there and planned. And also, we definitely support the Branford Land Trust too, and their interest in an easement for the Branford Trail that's been an institution for many years, and hopefully an easement for access to that trail that's been previously arranged. The Cook property allow people to access the trail through that property. But thank you.
Good answer. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Who's next?
Yes, go right ahead. You have your hand raised.
For the land trust?
Yeah, the Branford Land Trust account.
My name is Lauren Brown. I'm here on behalf of the Branford Land Trust. The Branford Land Trust appreciates the willingness of Encompass to grant a conservation easement on the steep slope down from the proposed site of the building to the Branford River. A conservation easement will not only protect the natural qualities of this portion of the property, but will also allow the easement holder to monitor and respond to any harmful sedimentation or erosion during construction and any other environmental encroachments after construction. Providing that the terms are acceptable, the Land Trust would like to receive the easement. The Land Trust would also like to ensure that the 38-year-old Branford Trail, which is a state-designated greenway, remains open for walkers. The Land Trust and Attorney Nuff have been in discussion about the terms of the easement, and we're hopeful that we can come to a mutually agreement arrangement. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. It sounds like you started discussions, but you're still talking. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Who's next? Economic Development Director Perry, go ahead. Oh, you're muted, Perry.
Okay, sorry about that. Perry Moreska, Economic and Business Development Manager for the town of Branford. Just wanted to say some of the things. I've been involved with the group from Encompass from day one as they sought out an area east of New Haven, and Branford was a perfect spot for them, a lot because of some of the things that we've done over the years. So Connecticut continues to have an increase in the need for inpatient care. Some are young people with sports industry injuries, some are middle-aged people injured, trying to stay young, and some an aging population with increased medical needs. One major reason for the increase is the influx of people along the eastern shoreline. During COVID and post-COVID, what used to be summer homes or weekend retreats in Branford, Guilford, Madison, Clinton, and beyond have become permanent residents for those working in Fairfield County and Manhattan. Instead of living in Manhattan and running up the shoreline on weekends, they are living on the shoreline and working partially from home and commuting to Manhattan 3 or 4 days a week. This is really added to the increase that we have east of New Haven. So really, there's nothing along the shoreline that provides what Encompass Health can provide for the patients that need this service, whether it be 3 days or 3 weeks. People east of New Haven to New London will be able to receive the attention and medical rehabilitation close to home. In this day and age, technology in the medical field has made tremendous accomplishments. Connecticut prides itself in what it offers to the state, the region, and the country as a whole. With its desire to be forefront in medical research and technology, our state strives to give the best medical options and treatment possible. Encompass Health will add to that proud reputation. This facility that they're hoping to build just east of New Haven will cover primarily the shoreline area. And proudly, it will be able to call Branford as home. During the, I'll say well over a year that I've been in contact with people from Encompass, I've talked to many surgeons in the area, all tremendously in favor. Even one person, a personal friend, I thought he was going to speak to me anymore when I came out in favor of Encompass. And his response was, no, this is just what we need. We do outpatient care only. We need an inpatient facility nearby that our patients can go to. So and he was just one of at least half a dozen that told me the exact same thing. We also had Mindy Gold, the senior specialist from the Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development, totally in favor of this, knowing, and she sees all over the state. So she sees the need for this. Lonnie Reed, Christine Cohen, Robin Comey, even our first selectman, Josh Brooks, and our former first selectman, Jamie, all were totally in favor of this. And nearby First Selectmen also wrote in favor of it. So I think we really need to look at this. I don't see any bad side, any downside. I do know that they worked with inland wetlands to make sure that things were accomplished in a rational way. To reiterate what Attorney Nuff had said, that retaining pond was man-made, and they are keeping that and enhancing it for the betterment. So that in itself is an ideal. I just think that we can continue to be proactive on helping the people in the area and being good for the community and the region. So thank you very much. Whatever else you have questions on, I can help you on along the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roski. Other members of the public wish to comment? Dan, do you see anyone?
See any raised hands? If you can't find the raised hand button, just unmute yourself, then state your name for the record, please. I have Harry Smith. Go ahead.
Harry Smith, former town planner. Somehow I've forgotten to find the raise hand button, but things disappear quickly for the brain sometimes. I just had a question and just want to elaborate on the sidewalk discussion a little bit. The question concerns trees proposed for the parking lot area. I'm just wondering what the material underneath would be once the excavation's concluded. Is there ledge in the area? The knoll, I think, was mentioned as coming down a bit. So I'm just wondering if there would be a suitable under the surface material for a tree to mature in, and that would be at least explored. And if it's not possible, other options should be looked at in terms of how to address that requirement of the regulations. With respect to the sidewalk, this is always a difficult question that came up all the time I was town planner, and I think the commission struggled with it quite a bit with locations such as this where you don't have a lot of sidewalks already in existence. What's reasonable? Long-term goal, of course, is to have sidewalks along here in the plan of conservation development. More than likely, this area will continue to develop and intensify in terms of the uses that are present there. And the offer of the easement is fine. However, there's an active requirement, as far as I read the zoning regulations, for the installation of the sidewalk. One thing I think we had talked about was whether some mechanism could be developed so there's a payment, and eventually when other sidewalks are put together, then the gaps are filled in and that kind of thing. As far as I recall, there was no conclusion that there was a possible legal vehicle to require that or provide for that, but that could be explored by the attorneys present. I will note that with respect to the pond and the potential to connect to the sidewalk already on the adjoining YMCA property, I mean, there is a design team in place here with the proposed development and looking at how the placement of a sidewalk between this development and the adjoining sidewalk on the YMCA property could be accomplished, and how that would need to be modified or done in a way that was provable by the inland wetlands is something I think that should be explored now, and possibly at least the design created so that if the commission does not require the installation now, at least there's an approval way to do that if one can be done. So those are my comments. I just want to note that, this has come up over and over again, and one of the ways that the community did achieve having sidewalks along East Main Street was to require sidewalks bit by bit, often where they didn't make a lot of sense initially. And now, via, a funding source, several of them have been really solidly connected up, so you have a network and that supports pedestrian movement. Also note that, there's a bus in the area, and employees to this facility may arrive by bus, and providing for their ability to walk into the development safely should certainly be considered as well. Thank you.
Chair, thank you, Mr. Smith. Other members of the public wish to comment?
See that Jay Reisman has unmuted themselves.
I'm sorry, I'm new at this sort of thing. My name is Janet Reisman. I live at 699 East Main Street, and I just have a brief question about the traffic study. This is an 80-bed facility. Is that is my understanding correct about that? And I'm thinking that the traffic engineering report only talked about the employees. What about the visitors? What if half of those 80 beds had a visitor all day long or something like that? So you're having 40 more cars coming into the parking lot than was accounted for. So I just wonder if the developers have any comment on that question. Thank you.
Jeff, do you want to have your consultant address that issue? Comment on that?
Sure. Craig can obviously do so, but we had considered that question already. The visitors are going to be coming, primarily during the daytime hours. What Craig or any traffic engineer has to do is look at the peak hour, the morning peak and the afternoon peak, and the few visitors that we'll be getting will be coming during off-peak hours, and even the few that might come during those peak hours are not going to make an appreciable difference to the levels of service.
Yeah, for the record, Craig Yanis, that's all accurate, and the data that we base the traffic study on includes all site traffic. So those projections, the big background data that we use as based on the size of the facility, includes all visitors, all deliveries, any employee traffic. So we're talking about the employee traffic being the biggest generator of traffic for this site, but all that's included in the traffic projections as well.
Okay, thank you. Are there other members of the public that wish to comment? If there aren't any, Mr. Nuff, what I had done, my suggestion is going to be that we continue this to our July 9th public hearing. And I was sort of trying to make a list when I was going through, just so I could give you things of what I'm thinking about, what I heard, and that hopefully that this is a chance to address these, the issues before the July 9th meeting, maybe get it a little bit tighter. The first one, is the conservation easement. It sounds like there's the land trust in principle, because you got to get a recipient of the easement. You can't just, get it. And it sounds like the land trust, you've had some conversations with them. It sounds like they're willing in principle, but you haven't done some details, and hopefully by continuous, and it's not that far away, it's a July 9th meeting, and we got a July 4th holiday coming up, but you could at least have one or two other meetings and get closer and just confirm that at least you got a recipient, because if for some reason the land trust doesn't do it, you got to get someone else, and if it's the town or whatever, so maybe get that checked. The second one is there's a major issue about the sidewalks, and I think Harry, and the way I understood it is, on the one hand, we've got the sidewalk group in town, we've got the plan of conservation and development, and we've got just past practice. We got the neighboring property that has sidewalks closer to Guilford. So there's an emphasis. We would like sidewalks. On the other hand, there are some constraints in terms of the topography and wetlands and so forth. And I know there's been discussions about an easement in lieu of that, and possibly a fee in lieu of. I think Harry mentioned that. I don't know. But hopefully that's something we could get a better consensus of if we continue the hearing, continue to discuss that with staff to see where we can, if there is at least some way to get closer to that issue where there's at least agreement. Those are the two main things. I had a few other things on there. One was that unfortunately, one of our, Marcy Pelusi, she is our main landscaping person. I mean, she always looks at these plans and has up comments that I would never dream of. And unfortunately, she's not here this evening, but hopefully at the next meeting, if she has any comments on the landscaping plan, that she could, about particular species or so forth, that she would be able to comment on that. And perhaps even in advance, if she gets a chance. She's on vacation right now, so that's another reason to continue that. And Harry, I thought Smith raised a point about the undersurface. I'm assuming that's something you could look at and address as well. And then there was, I think Jamie raised a number of points that were, you can address. Is there going to be a phasing and have some notes or something in the plans themselves address the phasing component? Signage is a separate permit. It always is, but, just being aware of that. And the WPCA approval, maybe if there's any more updates on that before the next meeting, as well as East Shore. I thought John Guskowski raised a very good point about the electric vehicle charging station. Again, these are things that can be addressed, but is that in effect? Does it apply to this type of use? You check that out. And if so, you can show those on the plan. And on the lighting, I think Jamie in her report said there are no wall packs, but I thought I heard your guys say there are wall packs, but they're not significant. They're not going to affect the photometric plan. So my suggestion would be, if there are going to be wall packs, just show them on the plan. And I don't expect that they're going to be. Maybe you're right on that, but that's just a detail that to get that fixed. And I think those were my points. Are there any other comments from staff or commission members that we could provide to the applicant that we would want addressed before this continued hearing? Sharon.
Yeah, Sharon Hutner here. Again, I would like to thank John for bringing up the topic of the EV chargers, even though the law might not say that we are required to have them. I think this current gas crunch crisis that we've had has made everybody aware of how dependent we are on fossil fuels. And I think more and more people are converting to EVs. And I know I love my hybrid and I look for a charger everywhere I go. So I think it would be something that you could do for your clients as well as following the law. The other suggestion that I would like to make is solar. The cost of electricity keeps on going higher and higher and up, and we are very lucky in Connecticut to have the Green Bank, which provides loans to various different entities for solar arrays, and Eversource, who will, given your plans, if you show them your architectural plans, they will help you be as energy efficient as you possibly can. So I would suggest that you might want to take a look at that and see where solar or geothermal, which now actually has more incentives to it than solar, might be advantageous. So that's another suggestion. The other thing is there's going to be food served at the facility. Is that correct?
Correct. People need to eat. Yep.
Yep. And so food waste is 20 to 30% of our garbage. And that means that that's going to be a 20 to 30% increase of the garbage in Branford. And the wonderful thing about your location is that it's just down the street from our transfer station, where we are very, very lucky to have a company whose name is Blue Earth provide barrels who will collect the food waste and miraculously turned it into electricity at this wonderful factory in Southington called the Quantum Biopower Factory. So I would urge you to contact Blue Earth. They're a really wonderful company, but make sure you don't get Blue Earth Minnesota when you Google it, because that's the first thing that comes up. And or talk to Tyler Bone, who is our sustainability person in Branford, and he will provide all the information you need about Blue Earth and how your food waste can be taken someplace else other than into our garbage. And so I would appreciate if you considered all of those topics.
So thank you, Sharon. Are there other comments from commission members or staff before we?
Joe Vayuso here.
Joe.
I just want to comment on all your comments, Chuck. Those details need to be addressed. And I want to comment on the applicant doing a very upstanding job and getting to as many details as possible and doing all, basically what I see so far is doing as much as they can the right way. And overall, it was a very, very good presentation, and they're covering all the bases. And I like the fact that they're including, even though there's going to be phase 1 and phase 2, that most of it is going to be at least the infrastructure is going to be done in phase 1, and all their figures are including phase 2 as well. So it makes it so you're seeing the whole print, the finished print, not just phase 1 and then phase 2 becomes something down the road. You're including everything, even though it may not all be done at once, but at least you're including a lot of it in the first phase, which is very commendable. Sidewalks is going to be a little bit of a problem there, I think, to install. There might be an issue here and there, and I think a little bending of the rules here and there to see to it that it gets installed and get it done, because it is, that area there, in my opinion, is very important to have sidewalks, because getting close to the main intersection where a charter pot is and all that area, and it's not as rural, north of there like it is over there. That's an area there that sidewalks, I think, is very important. And you did bring up a good situation with the bus line as well. Maybe many employees there will be using the bus, and people that are there take patients out for a walk in a wheelchair or something. The sidewalks, I think, will be very beneficial in many ways. So I think it's a necessary situation as far as sidewalks. And but overall, I think it's a good fit for that area. Very low traffic generator. It's not like retail where you have a lot of traffic and lights at night. Night traffic, people retailing, especially during the holidays. This is going to be a quiet type of facility. You're not even going to know it's there most of the time. Like all the other facilities that are in town, you don't even know they're there once they're built. And I've got, so far, what I see, I got a very positive attitude towards it. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Other comments from commission members or staff? Mr. Nuff, anything you want to mention before we continue this matter?
I think we're good. I think we have our list that we need to respond to, and we'll see y'all on the 9th.
Okay, then we will continue this matter to our meeting on July 9th. Continue this public hearing again, July 9th at 7 p.m., also a Zoom meeting. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Nuff, and your team. Okay, so that's it for item number 5. Going on, item number 6 is SZ and I LLC, applicant and owner, 16 Business Park Drive, special exception retail store. I understand that this is one where the staff had raised some questions and the applicant has requested that we open and continue this matter without testimony. Is that correct, Jamie?
That is correct.
Okay, so for item number 6, if you're here on that one, that's again 16 Business Park Drive, a special exception for retail store. We're going to open and continue that matter to our next meeting, which would also be on July 9th at 7 p.m., also a Zoom meeting. That brings us into item number 7, which is Paul Kyriakosi, I may have massacred that, 1729 South Main Street LLC owner. And the street address is 17-29 South Main Street. This is a zoning map amendment to add personal services, medical, and indoor recreation to the existing PDD on the site, commonly known as the old Branford Theater building. So is the applicant ready to proceed with that?
Yes, Commissioners. Good evening. Thank you for meeting with me on this matter this evening. This is the old Branford Theater building. We have mostly retail and office space in the front side of the building and residential apartments in the back side of the building. We would like to amend the use of this commercial space to include medical, personal service, and indoor recreation. In fact, the building is already being used in that fashion. We have a yoga studio there, a dance studio there, Sublime Beauty is there, and we would like to add Pure Rejuve skincare and massage. Pure Rejuve skincare and massage is an existing Branford business. She is losing her space because of some construction, and she would like to move into the Branford Theater building. So with your approval, we'd like to amend the map to show these uses for this building. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Kuriakosi. I hope I got your name right.
It's close enough. We're probably saying it wrong ourselves.
Okay. Okay. I think, Dan, you did the staff report on this one. You want to review that with us?
Yes, I'll share it. Let's see here. Okay, great. We're at 17-29 South Main Street. This is a planned development district, PDD, that was established back in 2002. Like the applicant mentioned, they're looking to amend the list of allowed uses by site plan approval to include personal service, indoor recreation, and medical or dental office, clinic, or laboratory. Currently, only retail, office, a bank, driving school, residential on second floor are the allowed uses. There are no site changes associated with this application, but either way, this is the site plan of the property. There's South Main Street on the right side there. And here's the old theater building. Again, residences back here and the commercial activity up front. This is the bulk requirements for the PDD. This includes the front, side yard, and rear setbacks, height requirements, but again, does not apply to this application as there are no physical changes associated with this application. The only changes associated with this application are the allowed uses. This is an aerial view of the property. Again, there's South Main Street and commercial up front, residences in back. Here's the street view. As you can see, there is the dance school that is there right now on the second floor of the front portion of the building. And here's the portion that fronts South Main. There is a yoga studio. There's some retail components. And then, so this is the site plan uses that are currently allowed. Just to reiterate, it's retail, office, bank, driving school, residential apartments. And then in red here are the new proposed uses, which are medical clinic, personal service, which are your, nails, estheticians, hair, including like massage, but skincare would be more medical clinic, and that's why we're including that here. And of course, indoor recreation, which would your yoga studios and dance schools would fall under. This is any change to the allowed uses is processed as a map amendment. And with any map amendment, we have to check it for conformance with the Plan of Conservation and Development. In the 2019 POCD Section 9.2 outlines goals to keep Branford Center vibrant. This property is located squarely in the town center. And that part of the POCD calls for maintaining and expanding uses that attract people and make Branford Center vibrant, such as small service and office uses, which this ask would certainly fall under. And then furthermore, Section 10.2 on economic development calls for supporting businesses and activities in the town center to create vibrant, pedestrian-friendly areas. This map amendment seeks to provide service, medical office, and related uses to attract businesses that could contribute to the vibrancy of the town center. we also, for every map amendment, have to check its conformance with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is comprised of the current zoning regulations and also the zoning map of the town of Branford. It reflects the town's present and future physical development, and that's derived from the various zones and districts that make up the community and the regulations that govern them. I won't read this whole excerpt here, but essentially, this is from the Plan Development District section of our regulations. The purpose is to permit the use of land, buildings, and other structures that would be beneficial and consistent with the character of the town and the long-range improvement of the neighborhood. So allowing personal service, medical, and indoor recreation uses at this PDD, it would be consistent with the pattern development that currently exists in the town center. These types of uses are prevalent in the town center, especially where we have these variety of commercial uses that are close together within short driving and walking distance. In terms of our required reviews for other departments, the building department, so the change of use as defined by the state building code would require a building permit application to be filed. The fire department said that the change of use proposed will require a permitting process to be followed, full plan review to be completed once a permit is received, if applicable to the fire code. And the Town Center Revitalization Review Board, which the applicant was required to visit first as this parcel sits within the town center. They provided a positive recommendation for this effort here to add the uses for medical, indoor recreation, and personal service. So with all that together, the staff is recommending that the commission approve the zoning map amendment with the findings and conditions right here. That personal service establishment, medical or dental office, clinic or laboratory, and indoor recreation be added to the list of allowed uses within the PDD at 17-29 South Main Street by site plan approval, and that this change is in accordance with the comprehensive plan, zoning regulations, and map, and consistent with the plan of conservation development, and our only condition just being an effective date of July 8th of this year. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Dan. Questions or comments from commission members or staff before we open up to the public? Hearing none, let's go ahead and open this up to the public. Does any member of the public wish to comment on this item? See anybody, anyone?
I do not.
I do not. Okay. Okay. Does the applicant, do you have any further comments on this one?
No, I have no further comment, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your attention on this matter.
Sure. Does any member of the staff or a commission member have any further comments?
Joe Ayuso does.
Joe.
I'm just, I think these uses should be automatically included, and that those are good uses as well in that building, and as well as other buildings. So I think whatever he's asking is a good thing. So I'm in the favor of changing it. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Any other comments or? I mean, we can talk about it in deliberations. Any other comments from anyone as part of the public hearing?
Yes, I would just add quickly that the reason that the application is before us now is that the town had a history of treating this property as a BR zone, which is listed on the assessor's card. In reality, it's a PDD, which has its own allowed uses that previous uses were mistakenly assigned, thinking that the zone was BR. So this is really an effort to codify the uses that are already on site and to make sure that everything is in conformance.
Thanks, Dan. Any other comments from anyone before we close this matter? Hearing none, then we close this matter as a public hearing, and this may be something we can take up in a little bit. Thank you, Mr. Kuriakosi. That brings us then to item number 8, which is Nicole Edwards, Conlon and Clark, number 1 LLC, 235 North Main Street. This is a special exception for fast food with no drive-through. This is a coffee truck. Is the applicant ready to proceed?
Yes, hi, thank you. Yep, Nicole Edwards, owner of 235 North Main Street, and we are looking to have a 7x12 mobile trailer coffee cart that does not have any stoves or anything like that. It's just coffee and protein shakes, which are made with dried ingredients. And our water source is 5-gallon bottles of water. And then our drainage system for the sink and the cleaning, we have a 35-gallon inside holding tank, and then the gray water release, which is also 35 gallons, which we have a mop sink on site at our business that it'll be disposed of in there. We have a couple picnic tables, a couple chairs, and we're hoping, to do this seasonally, weather permitting. And that's it. We did receive the sign off from the East Shore Health Department. They had come last week and issued a permit to operate, and also sign off from the fire department and the police department.
Dan, I think you did the staff report on that. This one, you want to review it with us?
Yes, I'll go right ahead.
Thanks, Dan.
Absolutely. Okay, we are at 235 North Main Street. As the chair already mentioned, it's a special exception for restaurant fast food without drive-through window. This is a use that's allowed by special exception in the Commerce Park zone. The property is around 1.91 acres. Just for some context, there's a commercial building that fronts North Main Street and a residential building that fronts, house that fronts Chestnut Street. The applicant is looking to place a coffee truck business in the rear of the property. It'll be a 7x12 foot trailer accompanied by some benches. There are no true structures associated with this application as they are not permanent. Nothing as part of this application requires a building permit. So this application really just revolves around the use itself, which is that restaurant fast food. There is no history of any kind of food use on the site. Therefore, the applicant must now secure the proper approvals to do so. That's why we're looking at this special exception. In this case, based off how the commission processed and categorized food truck use in 2014, where Aldi is, the applicant is looking to establish a restaurant fast food without drive-through window. And as I stated before, that's a special exception in the Commerce Park zone. This is a picture of what the trailer looks like, and the bench right in front of it. And there's a chair off to the right as well. This is in the rear of the property on that kind of lawn area. It's got some trees screening it behind it. Here's a look at the site plan. We got North Main Street at the bottom here, and there's Chestnut Street on the right. The yellow is the property boundary. There's that commercial building in front. The house is over here on the right, and then this green area is where the activity is going to be. The little X right there is where the trailer is going to be, the 7x12 trailer, and then these are the red squares are the locations where the benches are to be sited. This is what kind of the view you would see if you were driving along Chestnut Street. There's trees and shrubs, landscaping on either side of this driveway, and there's the house. So the red arrow is pointing to where the trailer will be. So it is tucked out of view along both streets. In terms of the bulk requirements, they don't really apply here because there are no structures, permanent structures that we can have these bulk requirements apply to. But that being said, here they are for the Commerce Park zone. For landscaping, as I just kind of showed in that that picture above, there is existing landscaping that fronts North Main Street and Chestnut Street, as well as vegetation along both side yards that may serve as screening for the coffee truck. This vegetative screening, it needs to be maintained to ensure that buffers are in place between the nearby residential properties. This is the Commerce Park zone. There's a commercial building next to it on North Main, but there is a residential property behind it on Chestnut Street. For off-street parking and loading, the applicable standards are for restaurant excluding patron bar area, which calls for 1 space per 75 square feet of patron floor area. As there is no true floor area associated with this application, no parking is officially required. That being said, people who visit the establishment need somewhere to park their cars. There's 40 spaces that are present on the site today that could serve that, realistic need, even if the regulations cannot mandate that any parking be officially provided. I did not see any signage associated with this application. If the applicant wishes to have a sign for this business, they would need to apply for a separate sign permit. In terms of drainage and stormwater control, the existing conditions are compliant. There's no construction work associated with this application. For traffic, there's no negative impact expected. The site has two separate driveways that have ingress and egress, and there's 40 parking spaces total. In terms of our special exception criteria, this, in terms of the project's consistency with the POCD, this project adheres to Section 8.2, which is enhancing development along Route 1. In terms of the location, size of the site, nature, intensity of the activity, we're labeling it restaurant fast food without drive-through because that definition technically applies. That's how it's going to be categorized, but its intensity will likely, be much lower than a typical fast food establishment that you would think of when you hear that use name. The trailer lacks real cooking facilities. It'll sell beverages, in the warm months in an area situated behind a commercial building with multiple driveways and dozens of parking spaces. And its, location along Route 1, it's lends itself to the notion that a small-scale seasonal coffee establishment would be a harmonious use for the area and not be too obtrusive. In terms of the design elements, the only thing that we can really look at is the design of the trailer, but it has wood paneling that would blend in with the shrubbery and the trees that surround it. It's pretty understated, likely have no negative impact on the existing and future character of the neighborhood. Our line about location, nature, and height of buildings, again, it doesn't really apply because there's no buildings or structures really associated with this application. Design, location, and specific details of the proposed use must not adversely affect safety in the streets. Again, no parking is required, but there are 40 spaces on site, and there are 2 separate driveways that people could utilize to enter and exit the premises. North Main Street, which is Route 1, and Chestnut Street will be of sufficient size to maintain any traffic generated for this use. And our lines about water supply, sewage disposal, existing conditions are compliant for the site. This coffee trailer is not a permanent structure. There'll be no new hookups to any utilities or anything like that. And of course, maintenance will be the responsibility of the business and property owners, respectively. We, sent this to other departments to look at, namely the town attorney, who had no initial issues. We'll wait to see the final submission, which we're looking at right now. And then East Shore, as the applicant noted, they got their approval from them. So in terms of our recommendation, we're recommending that the commission approve this special exception. This case of a coffee trailer, it's really a food truck, is a rare one that doesn't have an extensive history with our commission. However, a precedent was set in 2014 when the use was officially categorized as a restaurant fast food without drive-through window. I'll read that definition quickly, so the commission can see that it fits. It's any business establishment whose principal business is the sale of foods or non-alcoholic beverages to the customer in a ready-to-consume state, typically served in paper, plastic, or other disposable containers for consumption within the restaurant building, elsewhere on the premises, or for carry-out delivery for consumption off the premises. So as you can see, it's a pretty vague definition. It doesn't mention anything about having certain cooking facilities or even having a building itself. It just mentions a business establishment, which this would be. So I already reviewed its conformance with the Plan of Conservation and Development, but that specific line about enhancing development along Route 1, it says that the development should reflect current community desires. Coffee establishments are pretty common in Branford and are frequented heavily. The commission could consider if adding one to this commercial site would reflect that current community desire. So with all this information together, I'm recommending, the staff is recommending that the commission approve the special exception with the findings and conditions below, with the finding that that the proposed use is consistent with the special exception requirements of section 9.8.f, and the conditions that vegetation along 199 Chestnut Street and 241-243 North Main must be maintained. If this vegetation is removed, the property owners should reestablish that vegetation to ensure that there is sufficient screening for the properties that abut this one. Any signage shall conform to the Branford zoning regulations and shall require a separate zoning permit. And the site shall be maintained so that any trash is contained in secure containers and shall be removed as needed to maintain compliance with the site plan. And that's all I got.
Thank you.
Questions, comments from commission members? Is that Joe Viuzzo with his hand raised, or?
No, I have a phone number ending in 7382. I think it's,
Okay.
Is that a member of the public?
Yes, hi, this is Norma
Okay.
Farina. I actually live on the property adjacent to where the truck is going to be. So I just wanted to, that you were talking about the trash and things and then the tree line that is in between us. I just want to make sure that, that the trash will be maintained and that the gray water will not be put into the woodland area, which is my property.
Correct.
Because I've had a history in the past that, things have kind of come over my side. And if there's going to be certain hours that, if it's during the week or the weekend that the truck will be running.
So that it's going to be during the day, and the gray water will absolutely not be dumped onto your side of the property. It will be properly disposed of in the mop sink, and no removal of any of the tree line between us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then as far as the noise level, like with, events and things like that. So that's why I was just asking about the hours of operation.
So I would think it would be like 7 a.m. when people are going to work, and then, before it gets dark. But the goal is to have a serene setting where people can just sit and have a cup of coffee and maybe hop on their phone or do something that's relaxing, because you really can't hear the traffic from the street. It's more trying to make it like a relaxing environment. I know that they had done a little market last week in the front with some vendors. But you came over.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I came over. Yeah, which was fine. I just, I'm just concerned because, it's a tight neighborhood and a lot of the stuff does come over my yard from not just your space, but other areas. So I just, I'm just trying to maintain the integrity of my property as well. Absolutely. And also because I maintain the tree line and try to keep things tidy on my side, the things don't go over to your side. So we're both cohesive for each other and respectful, to the nature too, and keep that maintained.
I did plant some rose bushes and a little hummingbird feeder I put out, and it's just all the nature's coming right over and enjoying it.
Good.
So it's nice. And we do have trash pickup 2 days a week there from John's Refuse. So never will have to worry about that sitting around.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, that's it from me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments from commission members before we seek additional public comment? Any commission members have any comments? Sharon?
Sharon Hutner again, just the same kind of comments that I actually made for the rehab center. I mean, just think about what to do with your food waste.
Yes.
And if you can possibly use compostable cups and forks and knives and all that, there's lots of sources in
Yes.
to buy those kinds of things. So just be aware of, what
Absolutely.
it's going to do to that immediate environment.
Right. Thank you. My daughter's into that, completely vegan as well, so conscientious of all of that.
Great, good for her.
Yes, I agree. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments from commission members or staff? Let's see if is there any additional public comment? Any other members of the public wish to comment?
Go ahead,
Terry.
Barry.
I just want to commend the neighbor for being so, I'll say cooperative with a business being next door. So it's usually sometimes when you hear people come on, it's usually to complain. And the fact that she came and just wanted to clarify some things, I think that's great. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, I'm open to, thriving business and things like that, but just that we're all respectful to each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments from the public or the commission members or staff or the applicant? Hearing none, then we'll close this matter as a public hearing. And again, this is something that hopefully we can take up in a little bit. Thank you, Ms. Edwards.
Thank you.
That brings us to our next public hearing. We got two more. Is Maria Barletta, applicant, 554 Main Street LLC owner. This is 560 Main Street. This is a special exception for a maker space art gallery. Is the applicant ready to proceed with that?
Yes, I am. Good evening, everyone. I'm Maria Barletta. I'm looking to create an art gallery, art studio at 556 Main Street, where I will paint and also sell my art from there. I'm not going to do any structural changes. I'm just going to clean it up, make it a beautiful, peaceful space for people to visit. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. No blade sign will be put out just now. I'm just going to do a logo in the inside of the window. And that's basically it. I'm excited to be part of Branford's art community. I've been wanting to do that for quite some time. So, looking forward to it.
Jamie, I think you did the staff report for this one.
Yeah, Jamie Frederick, screen share. I'll go through this pretty quickly because I think it's pretty straightforward use that's consistent with town center and Main Street overlay. So the applicant is seeking approval to establish a studio with a gallery / retail space. No exterior site changes are proposed. The proposal falls under regulation 510D2, which is under the Main Street Overlay District for makerspace / small scale artisan art or craft workshop. You can see the existing building and site conditions here. This is from April 2026. Again, no site plan changes are proposed, but I've provided the bulk standards. There are some nonconformities, but there's no changes to those nonconformities through this application. The project is within the Main Street overlay, and it falls under 5.10, so it's exempt from the landscape regulations. There's no change in the parking requirements needed, and in addition to that, Section 510C waives the parking requirements for makerspace, small arts, and art craft workshops when it's located on the ground floor with direct entrance onto a sidewalk, which is the case for this proposal. The only signage is an interior window decal. Not expecting the use to have any traffic concerns over what was previously in the space. The last tenant in the space, I believe, was an insurance office, which again had similar parking requirements. Special exception criteria for makerspace, small art scale artisan art and craft workshop include the fact that it does not exceed 5,000 square feet, which it complies with, and that at least 10% of the gross floor area is devoted to retail sales. I've copied over again the special exception criteria for the commission's consideration and comments from other departments. Town Center did review and provided a unanimous motion to recommend the application for Planning and Zoning Commission approval. And then, so I would recommend a finding that it's consistent with the special exception criteria and a condition that operations shall comply with regulation 510D2A with at least 10% of the floor area dedicated to retail sales.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions, comments from commission members or staff before we open it up to the public? Hearing none, does any member of the public wish to comment? Any public member wish to comment? See anyone, Dan or Jamie? Nope.
Negative.
Okay. Any further comments from the applicant?
No, thank you. No, thank you. Thank you for everything.
Okay. Any further questions, comments from commission members or staff? Hearing none, then we'll close this matter as a public hearing. And again, this is something hopefully we can take up in a little bit. Thank you, Ms. Barletta.
Thank you.
Brings us to our last public hearing, number 10, is Tesla Inc., care of Henry Missa, applicant, Fusco Schiller Branford Associates LLC owners, 22 Leeds Island Road. This is a PDD modification of the bulk requirements for electric car changers. They're not actually changing the map, Jamie, right? It's just a change in the bulk standards within the PDD. Is that correct?
I did the application for this one.
Oh,
but this
Dan,
is
yeah.
this is just for
okay.
the amending of setbacks.
Right. Okay. Great. Okay, is the applicant ready to proceed?
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. I'm Henry Misas with Tesla. I'm the project manager for this proposal. I'll try to be really brief and save time for questions if you have them. And I can also share my screen to show the proposed plan. Can you see the screen? Not yet. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Great. So we're proposing 16 charging stalls. These are fast charging stalls. So you could have 16 EVs charging at the same time. These are Tesla owned and operated charging stations. However, any EV can use them. We're proposing them at the northwest corner of the parking lot. This is what the landlord approved, and it also makes the most sense as it is furthest away from the Stop and Shop and other retail. So it's just the least busy part of the parking lot. We are proposing some screening, landscaping along the frontage, and the landscaping, which will be detailed in a more in our full construction drawings when we submit for building permits. But the landscaping shall conform to the Branford zoning regulations, and we'll pick plantings from the planting list. Other than that, this includes utility transformer, switchboard, all the equipment necessary for a charging station. And like I said, Tesla owns and operates it. So if there's anything that goes wrong, Tesla takes care of it. And if you're familiar with a charging station, they're pretty much pretty easy to use. They're self-serve. When somebody comes in with an EV, they get out of the car, they plug in. It takes about 25 minutes on average to charge a car. And then the user gets out of the car, unplugs, and then keeps going. And the reason we're here is because we need to modify the setbacks to allow us to put all this equipment within, as shown here, within 6 feet of the front and 1 feet of the side. And that's about it.
Thank you, Mr. Meese. Dan, you want to review your staff report?
Yes, I will quickly go over that. Okay, all right. So we are at 22 Leeds Island Road, which is another planned development district that we're looking at tonight. This one is established in 1985. The dominant feature of this PDD is, of course, the Stop and Shop. The applicant is planning to site electric car chargers in the northwestern part of this property. So the placement of these chargers at the ends of the parking spaces would encroach the front and side yard setbacks. And any change to setbacks within a PDD is a zoning map amendment. So that is why we are looking at it tonight. They're looking to reduce the front yard setback to 6 feet where 7 feet is required, and to reduce the side yard setback to 1 foot where 27.1 feet is required. And this change would be expressly for the siting of electric car chargers. So this amended setback would be only for this purpose. Here's a view of the entire, well, not the entire western half of this property. The yellow highlighted area is where the chargers will be roughly sited, of course, on the parking lot itself, but we're looking at this general corner of the property. This is what the bulk requirements look like for the PDD today. As you can see, the front yard is 7 feet and the side yard is 27.1 feet. These are the ones that they're looking to amend just for the purpose of siting these chargers. Here's an aerial view of the property. That red box there is where this project is located. And then here's the Google Street View if you're driving along the side of it. As you can see, this along that tree line, then where this grass is up front is where they're going to be putting the chargers. Again, to remind the commission, this application is solely to amend the setbacks for the PDD. If approved, the applicant would have to submit a staff level site plan application to put the chargers down themselves. At that time, we would check it for consistency with our landscaping requirements. So that is why you will not see any kind of check for conformance with the landscaping as part of this application, because this is just to amend the bulk requirements. So with any map amendment, we have to check its conformance with the plan of conservation and development. In this case, section 12.1 of the 2019 BOCD covers promoting sustainability throughout town. Under energy-related strategies, there was a stated goal of providing for electric car charging stations. And within section 16.2 on wired infrastructure, there is a stated goal of accommodating the power needs of new technologies, such as electric cars and their dedicated charging stations. So this application, the commission could, weigh if it serves those goals by facilitating the future placement of about 16 chargers, and if that new electric capacity for the town would serve that cleaner mode of transportation than gas-powered cars. We also have to check any map amendment with the comprehensive plan, which I referenced earlier in a different application, is comprised of the current zoning regulations and the zoning map, the town of Branford. Modifying the PDD setbacks in question would facilitate the placement of structures that could benefit the town and contribute to improving the immediate area. These structures, the electric car chargers, could bolster accessibility for electric car owners, not only in town, but serve as an important amenity for any customers within the PDD. So that is something for the commission to weigh as well. We did send it to other departments to look at. The building department, and they were commenting more on anticipating a future site plan application for when these chargers would be in place, noting that accessibility must be provided under 1107.2.1 for number of accessible vehicle spaces, and then also the sizes of those vehicle spaces as well. Then for the fire department, they noted that the full plan review to be completed once a permit is received, if applicable to the fire code. And then moving down to our staff recommendation, just as a reminder, when the commission is faced with an application that proposes change to the zoning regulations or zoning map, they're acting in a quasi-legislative capacity. And this is an instance where the commission has more discretion than they would than a standard site plan or a special exception application. So ultimately, the changes that the applicant are looking for, I consider them pretty minor in nature. The impetus for this application was that the electric car chargers technically required a building permit, making them a structure per the zoning regulations. Therefore, they had to adhere to the setbacks to easily connect to utilities and lessen the amount of ground disturbance. Chargers are typically sited on the perimeter of parking lots and at the ends of the spaces themselves. Therefore, placing the chargers behind the setbacks becomes difficult because the parking lot goes right up to the edge of the property. So the ask to reduce front and side yard setbacks is specific to the siting of electric car chargers, and the commission could condition these setbacks for that purpose only, and I have drafted that condition. Meaning that buildings and other accessory structures that aren't associated with these electric car chargers and the immediate electrical facilities would have to abide by the existing setbacks. With that in mind, the staff is recommending that the commission approves this with the finding that the change conforms with the comprehensive plan and is consistent with the plan of conservation development to reduce the front yard setback to 6 feet and to reduce the side yard setback to 1 foot with the condition that we have an effective date of July 8th and the more notable condition that these reduced front and side yard setbacks shall pertain only to the siting of electric car chargers and related equipment. And that's all I got.
Staff, before we open up to the public. Hearing none, let's open up the public. Does any member of the public have any comments? Do you, nobody see anyone? I don't. Okay, does the applicant have any further comments?
Nope, thank you.
And does the commission? Yep.
I got a couple questions. One, I'm just curious. The amount of electricity that's needed, is there going to be some kind of special, something, where's this electricity coming from? Since it's so far away from any building, is it coming off the street as a separate meter or something? Sure. And do you charge? And if somebody wants to charge their car, is there a fee for all this? Is this a business within the business in the parking lot? Is this a separate entity? How does this work?
Sure.
Just curious.
The power side. So this is coordinated with the utility, which is Eversource in this particular location. They do have capacity. The power comes from specifically from the overhead lines that are along Leeds Island Road. They happen to be in the in the correct side of the street, so within easy reach, something like 50 to 75 feet away from the transformer, there is an existing pole that's about 50 to 75 feet away from the proposed transformer location. When people use the chargers, they pay for kilowatt hour. So it's like paying for gas, but instead of gallons, they pay for kilowatt hour. And this is, as far as the business side, what this essentially is an agreement with the landlord for us to use the space, and to offer this service to the public. In other words, we're a tenant in the shopping center.
Well, how about maintenance and making sure that the equipment is not vandalized or anything like that, or the person that's using the equipment knows what they're doing and you know, who maintains this equipment? Is there somebody on site all the time? Probably not, I would assume.
Sure. There are no attendants. However, Tesla owns and operates all the equipment. So if something fails, we will catch it. There's just many ways for us to know. For example, the equipment is all connected to the internet. So if there's any fault or any issues, we will know. We will send a service crew to fix it. And we're really good at having high uptime and reliability with our equipment. It's really important for EV users to have somewhere to charge and for them to arrive and to make, to just have that certainty that the equipment is gonna work. Or if, a customer has a problem, then they can call Tesla and report that problem.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
How much is the Dave Dyer, how much is the kilowatt hour? I mean, gas is $4 a gallon. What's a kilowatt hour?
Cannot tell you off the top of my head, but
I mean, is it something that whatever the current kilowatt price is through EverSource, is that what, I mean, how's the consumer supposed to know how much they're going to be paying?
Sure. I'm trying to see if I can find a quick example in my Tesla app. But what will happen is if you're going to a Tesla charging station, either you look in the app or in the car itself, in the screen in the car, it will tell you for each charging station what the price per kilowatt hour is at that particular station. It will be whatever EverSource charges, but some plus an additional markup. Again, I'm just trying to see if I can find a quick example. This is not Connecticut. I could look up Connecticut, but just as an example, in New York, it's like between 30 and 40 cents a kilowatt hour. But it changes per charging station, and it varies over time.
So how many kilowatts is used in the 25 minutes, as you say, charges the car?
Every car is different. Every car has a different kilowatt hour per battery. As an example, say my car, it's a Model Y. It's something like 75 kilowatt hours for a full battery. But you could arrive with some percentage of the battery, so it really varies depending on your situation.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Does Tesla have other charging stations in the state nearby, or where?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have a few in Connecticut. I will say I think the closest one to Branford is probably New Haven, where we have I think a couple in New Haven proper.
Sharon?
Sharon Hutner. There's also a whole bank of Tesla chargers in Hamden, if I'm not mistaken. And I really think this is going to be a great thing for the town, for Branford. I mean, the businesses in that general location are really going to be at a tremendous advantage, because while somebody is charging, there's Stop and Shop, and there's the liquor store, and there's Dunkin' Donuts, and there's the Sky Diner, and people usually look for businesses to go to while their cars are charging. So I think this will be a great thing for Branford.
Thanks, Sharon. Any other comments from commission members or staff? Nothing from the public, right? Any further comments, Mr. Misa?
No, thank you very much.
Okay. And I think we can close this matter as a public hearing. We can take this up in a bit. So my suggestion is, we've been doing this for 3 hours and 20 minutes. So I would like to take a 10-minute break if we could. So let's meet back At 10 o'clock, we do have a bunch of, I would like to get through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have like 7 applications to vote on. So I think we're here for another 45 minutes to an hour that's my guess. Could be longer or shorter. So we'll take a recess until 10 o'clock.
This program was brought to you.
Thank you.
Doke. Okay, is Jamie here? Jamie Frederick, I think.
I'm here.
Okay, great. How about Joe Vayuso? Are you back?
Joe Vayuso's back.
Excellent. And Dave Dyer, you back?
I'm back.
Okay, so I think we got all the commission members back. So let's go back on the public hearing items that we heard and see what we can take care of. The first three, actually, there's one public hearing. It's 850 West Main Street. That was the 2-lot subdivision, the special exception for grading, and the retail building plan for that one too, auto parts store. So, Jamie, I know you did the staff report on that one, and I think we need 3 separate votes on these. The first one was the subdivision. I think we gotta, what do we do first? Do we do the grading before the subdivision or the subdivision first? I
I'm
don't.
not sure that it overly matters.
Okay.
I mean,
I think we could do either one. So maybe we can't do the site plan until the property's actually divided. So we can't. That one goes last. But why don't you? I mean, you had the subdivision first, and the subdivision has its own regulations. It technically isn't dependent on zoning. So maybe we'll start with the subdivision. And you had, I'm trying to remember, you had proposed findings and conditions for the subdivision and that you've pulled up.
I have conditions. I didn't provide findings.
Okay. Yeah, the finding is that it complies with the subdivision regulation. I think that's all you got to find. And then
I could add that if you would like.
Oh, we can wing that. And these were kind of detailed. If you want to just review them with us.
Sure. So again, I was looking for the subdivision map to be updated to include some of the items specifically identified in the subdivision regulations, including lot markers, consideration of solar energy, notes required per the subdivision regulations, and sidewalk revisions to the extent possible to straighten out the sidewalk, and associated easement for maintenance.
Right.
And then standard condition that I've seen on previous approvals, underground utilities are required unless waived by the commission. They're proposing underground, so I don't know that it's necessary, but I threw it in there. An easement for the section of sidewalk along Route 1 located on private property shall be provided to the town of Branford with language to be reviewed by town council prior to filing. We should receive a copy of the DOT approval. And then the Mylar copies shall be submitted and filed with the town clerk within the 90-day requirement. Just for clarification, proposed uses for each lot are subject to review as outlined in the Branford zoning regulations and must receive approval from the WPCA as applicable. Lots shall not be used without the required approvals.
Okay, I think we're all voting on this one. So that is Joe Chadwick, Joe Vayuso, Dave, and Sharon. Does anyone have any comments on this one? I think it's subdivisions. If it complies with the regs, you sort of got to approve it. So I think it kind of does. But I don't know. Anyone else have any thoughts? If there aren't any, does someone want to make a motion to approve the subdivision application with the finding that it complies with the subdivision regulations, subject to the 7 conditions that are outlined by Jamie in the staff report that she's displaying in front of us.
Chadwick makes that motion.
Motion by Joe Chadwick to approve the subdivision with that, with the findings and the conditions. Is there a second?
Joe, second.
Dave Dyer.
Okay,
Go ahead,
we
Joe.
gave it to, I heard Joe first, so Joe Vayuzo gets second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe Chadwick,
Joe Chadwick is in favor.
Joe Vayuzo,
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Dave Dyer,
Dave Dyer is in favor.
Sharon Hutner,
Sharon Hutner is in favor.
and the chair is also in favor. Okay, next we have the special exception to 6.8 grading. Did you have any proposed conditions and findings on that one?
Jamie Frederick finding that it's consistent with the special exception criteria and conditions of approval. Again, DOT copy or starting with a sediment erosion control shall be installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer, copy of DOT approval for as applicable, and if no use is approved for lot 2, traffic shall be restricted by means to be shown on the site plan, subject to staff review. Since the driveway currently extends through to lot 2.
Okay, any questions, comments from anyone? Now, does someone want to make a motion to approve this special exception for the 6.8, I guess it is, the grading special exception with the findings and conditions set forth by Jamie in her stat report, the finding and the 3 conditions?
Joe Vayuso moves to approve.
Motion to approve with the finding and 3 conditions by Joe Vayuzo. Is there a second?
Chadwick seconds.
Second, Joe Chadwick. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe Chadwick,
Joe Chadwick is in favor.
Joe Vayuzo,
Joe in favor.
Dave Dyer,
Dave in favor.
Sharon Hutner,
Sharon Hutner is in favor.
and the chair is also in favor. And the third one is the site plan for the retail building. Again, it wasn't a public hearing. There wasn't anything, I mean, they have sidewalks. I think there was no landscaping issues, or I thought they addressed that.
I think the landscaping plan complies with the current landscape regulations.
Right. Okay, so there were no proposed, I think we can prove with the finding that it complies with the zoning regulations and right.
I don't know that it's necessary, but I did add the possible condition regarding signage.
Right, yeah. So yeah, we could do that as well. So someone make a motion, I guess, to approve the site plan application with the finding that complies with the zoning regulations with the condition that a separate zoning permit must be submitted for any proposed signage set forth in the proposed condition from Jamie.
Chadwick makes that motion.
Motion to approve by Joe Chadwick. Is there a second?
Dave Dyer seconds.
Second by Dave. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe Chadwick,
Chadwick is in favor.
Joe Vayuzo,
Joe in favor.
Dave Dyer,
Dave's in favor.
Sharon Hutner,
Sharon Hutner is in favor.
chair is also in favor, so the application is approved. The next one I think is up is item number 7, which is Paul Kyriakos, applicant, 1729 South Main Street. This was the cleaning up the PDD to add the uses that apparently are existing there, but weren't technically approved as part of the PDD when we approved the Branford Theater Booth application back in whenever it was.
2002.
So, 2002. And okay, so I think the PDD say that when you treat it as a zoning map amendment, we're not actually changing the map, but I think that's what the regular PDD say, that's that when you change the uses, it's treated like a map amendment. So we're making all these findings. So So there's the proposal that we need an effective date of after the date of publication. So presumably July 8th is after the publication. So we're finding that the proposed amendment to the PDD to add those uses is in accordance with the comprehensive plan and also consistent with the plan of conservation and development, and it has an effective date of July 8th, as suggested in the staff report by Dan. Someone want to make that motion to approve with those findings and that condition?
Sharon Hutner will move. So move.
So move for approval by Sharon Hutner. Is there a second?
Chadwick seconds.
Second by Joe Chadwick. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe Chadwick?
Chadwick in favor.
Joe Vayuso?
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Dave Dyer?
Dave Dyer is in favor.
Sharon?
Sharon Hutner is in favor.
And the chair is also in favor. So that application map amendment, PDD amendment is approved. Turning then to item number 8, which is 235 North Main Street. That is the coffee truck. So do you have, and I guess the precedent for that is we did do that. I think we did it at, remember back before Aldi showed up, we had one, and this is the process we followed then. And I seem to recall something way even before that, but on the parking lot next to the Elm, somebody wanted to do a hot dog and we made them do something for that too. So this is following that precedent, falling for a special exception. It sounded like the applicant was aware of the need to not be sloppy. And I guess the eStore Health has to approve this, for the operation, for the food use. Is that correct, Dan? Or somebody
Yes.
has to, right?
Yeah,
So
we got their approval from them. Yep.
Right. Okay. Okay. Do you want to, and you pulled up the finding and 3 conditions, and that I think you reviewed during the public hearing, and you are displaying to us now on the screen. And if they look to someone, if they look good to someone, does someone want to make a motion to approve the application with the finding and the 3 conditions suggested by Dan?
Joe Vayuso moves to approve with the 3 conditions added.
Motion to approve by Joe Vayuso with the 3 conditions. Is there a second?
Chadwick
Dave Dyer seconds.
Okay, I heard Joe first. So Joe Chadwick gets a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe Chadwick?
Chadwick is in favor.
Joe Vayuso?
Joe in favor.
Dave Dyer?
Dave's in favor.
Sharon Hutner?
Sharon Hutner is in favor.
And the chair is also in favor. Next one is item number 9. This was the Main Street special exception for a maker space art gallery. This is on Main Street. It's nice to see that area of town doing well. They've got Doma. They got a little place called Slackline, which is kind of nice. A little printing thing, and this is a little artsy thing that fit in well. They got an egg place across the street, draws traffic. It's just it's nice to see that area of town doing well. So this is the staff recommendation of the finding of that it's in compliance with the regulations, and that it complies with that provision of the regulations that at least 10% of floor area be dedicated to retail sales. So with that, does someone make a motion to approve the special exception application with the finding condition as suggested by Dan in his staff report?
Dave Dyer so approves.
Motion to approve by Dave Dyer. Is there a second?
Joe seconds.
Joe, second by Joe Vayuso. Is there, any further discussion? All is in favor. Joe Chadwick.
Joe Chadwick is in favor.
Joe Vayuso.
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Dave Dyer.
Dave Dyer's in favor.
Sharon.
Sharon Hutner is in favor.
And the chair is also in favor. So that brings us to item number 10. This is the Tesla application. So you want to, Jamie, I think, did you do that one?
I've got it up here.
Okay. And again, this is, we're following it's changing the bulk standards and I guess you could say the use is allowed in the PDD. I mean, this is the process you go through for a change of use. So treating it as a map amendment. So, any comments by anyone before we vote on this? I mean, it's a little bit unusual, but I think Sharon, you pointed out, it's probably a good thing. And also there's a requirement, I think John Guskowski pointed out earlier from 2022 that parking lots should have some EV charging areas. And this is, in some ways, you can look at this as sort of helping to bring an existing parking lot more in conformance with what is now required by statute as well. So, someone want to make a motion with respect to this one with the finding and the conditions about the effective date and the reduced front yard and sidebars pertain only to the siting of the electric car chargers and related equipment.
Sharon Hutner so moves.
Motion to approve by Sharon. Is there a second?
Chadwick seconds.
Second, Joe Chadwick. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe Chadwick?
Chadwick is in favor.
Joe Vayuso?
Joe V in favor.
Dave Dyer?
Dave is in favor.
Sharon?
Sharon Hutner is in favor.
And the chair is also in favor. So that completes the public hearing items. Under new business, we have a number of items scheduled for public hearings, at least item number 1 and 2. Again, those will be considered at our July 9th meeting. One is we're starting the zoning regulation amendment to comply with Public Act 25-1 that the staff had circulated to us. I think 2, we've got automobile repair, also a special exception. And a couple of other things are on there. We have to, for a coastal site plan, we'll get to that whenever we can, I guess, and whenever, if Deep has to review it. And number 4, an accessory apartment, which I think is also scheduled for July 9th. So we'll hear those all on July 9th, as well as we have a couple of continued items from this one. So July 9th, we'll have a fair amount of stuff, though not as many as tonight. So it brings us then to our minutes for our June 4th, 2026, which I think were circulated. I don't know if we were all here, but someone want to make a motion with respect to the June 4th minutes.
Chadwick moves. Taken Joe Vayuso.
Joe Vayuso moves to approve, and it's second by Joe Chadwick. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe Chadwick?
Chadwick approves.
Joe Vayuso?
Joe approves.
Dave Dyer?
Dave Dyer approves.
Sharon?
Sharon Hutner approves.
And chair also approves, so the minutes are approved. Any correspondence, Jamie?
No correspondence.
Okay. And we have other business. There's 3 bond releases. Do we have those ready to go forward?
They are not, so request that those get continued to the next meeting.
Okay, so those will stay on our agenda for our next meeting. Planners report. What do you got for us, Jamie and Dan? Anything?
Nothing pressing. Given the time, I think we can.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Bill, you got anything for us? Anything you want to call out?
I just want to mention, I'll follow up tomorrow with Jamie, but that EV charging station issue, I looked quickly at the statute. It became effective in 23, and arguably we should have put it in our regulations, which I don't think we've done. So we should probably flag that going forward. And it's also an infrastructure requirement. It's not an actual charging station requirement. So I think we got some work to do on that.
Thanks. But yeah, my recollection is it wasn't even in the zoning statutes. It was buried somewhere else. It was like motor vehicle or something. I don't know where it was, but yeah.
Yeah. So
I know the commission's done conditions relative to the language in the past, so yeah,
that's good.
look to codify it.
Yeah, we really should. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? John, Bill, Jamie, Dan?
Thanks everyone for your hard work and patience tonight.
Great. What time is it? It is, look at that, 10:20. We're going to make it under 4 hours, right?
We'll call it an even 4.
Right. Okay. Okay. With that then, and we eliminated stuff. We approved a bunch of stuff right in the agenda. That's always our goal. Okay. So with that, does anyone else have anything? And if not, does someone make a motion to adjourn?
Chadwick makes that motion.
Okay. Joe Chadwick makes a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Oh, I'll second. Sharon Hutton second.
Sharon seconds. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Joe Chadwick?
Joe Chadwick is in favor.
Joe Vayuso?
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Dave Dyer?
Dave Dyer's in favor.
And Chair is also in favor. Thank you, everyone.
And
Really
Sharon
appreciate it.
Hutton.
Nice.
Oh, Sharon, did I not even do you? Yeah.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.